My name is Mr. Mbrabasi. I am the head of administration for MJB Management and Integrated Services. Welcome to the Professional Diploma in Supply Chain Management. We are delighted to have you embark on this transformative journey with us. Throughout this program, you will gain comprehensive insights into the intricacies of supply chain dynamics. Engage, learn, and collaborate with fellow professionals to enhance your expertise and drive impactful changes in your career. Before I introduce our facilitator, I want to acknowledge a great man.
Hold on.
Before I introduce the facilitator, I want to acknowledge a great man. Of the grace of our Creator in him. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to introduce our distinguished guest, the National Vice Chairman of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria Young Pharmacists Group, Mr. Hassan Muma Dankano. Sir, you're welcome. You're welcome. Do you have anything to say to us, sir? Do you have anything to say to us, sir? Just say hi to us, sir. Are you with us, sir? Mr. Hassan, are you with us? Okay, when he comes, he will say hi to us. But without wasting time, I want to introduce the facilitator for today. She's an expert in the field of supply chain management. She has more than 10 years proven track record in delivering comprehensive understanding of supply chain principles. She's skilled in creating an engaging learning environment, fostering collaboration, and ensuring participants supply chain management. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mrs. Dorothy Kingsley. Mrs. Dorothy Kingsley is good. You are welcome. The stage is yours.
And I'd like to hear. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm happy I'm going to be talking to so many. Good morning. Good morning. I trust we are all doing very, very well. It's a pleasure to be here today in your midst. I want to start by you know that you have not done the wrong thing by taking this training. No knowledge is wasted. You may never know when it will come in handy at the nick of time. So whatever you can learn, wherever you can learn, however you can learn, it's important that you get the training. So it's something very, very heroic for you to have ventured into this training. And from what I gathered, a leader has made this possible due to his selflessness in his duties as one of the members of the supply chain to ensure that this program goes hitch-free. He was able to get his members, and he had a good negotiation with the owners, with MJB management and Institute to have this discount available. So I would have wanted a situation whereby everybody on that platform would have logged in and keyed into this opportunity. But I believe that they
apart from our facilitator, everybody should mute their mic, please. Everybody should mute their mic. Thank you.
See as much as possible how we can cover what we have. So we are going to go by help us to ensure first that your mics are muted. Mute your mics, please. Very important, because when we have noise and disruptions from the background, it tends to slow our pace. That's the first instruction. And then at any point you have a question, please make good use of the chat box. You can drop your question there, or subsequently, there will be time for questions. I like to do my trainings this way. I like it to be interactive. I don't like to do all the talking, because I'd learn a whole lot from you, pharmacists, as well as others that are other people that are not pharmacists on this platform. So I'm going to learn from you, as well as you are going to learn from me. It's going to be a collaborative process. So please ensure that at any point you have any question, put it on the chat box or wait for question time. And then I can pause at any time to ask my questions. I could ask you questions so that I will be sure I know that you are following up. You're following up with what we are going to look at. So, thank God so much that we are mostly pharmacists. What I gathered from MJB management is that we are pharmacists because of the negotiations. So we, 3/4 of us, a good number, we have a good number of pharmacists here on this platform. And beautiful enough, since you are pharmacists, you understand that we cannot take this training lightly, because pharmacists have got to do with drugs. I'm sharing my screen. Pharmacists have got to do with drugs, have got to do with human life, and anything that has got to do with human life has to be given utmost seriousness, like urgency, anything that has got to do with human life. And because we are pharmacists here, we understand the importance of human life. Please, are we together? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. We can hear you, ma'am. Please, fine, thank you. I'm going to intermittently be stopping to ask you if you are with me. If I don't get so that everybody is carried along. And don't forget that we are many. We are 87, but there are 90, like the MJB manager said. So it means I have to see how best to carry everybody along. So please, if I pause and ask for responses, please don't hesitate to give me responses, at least collectively, not just one person or two. So as I was saying, pharmaceutical industry is one industry that is very important for you to have a good knowledge of supply chain management. Why? Because you are dealing with human lives. It's just like a medical doctor, it's just like a nurse. Anybody in the health facility, in the public system is, anybody in the public health system is directly involved with human life. So it is important. So without wasting much time, I want to start by just telling you the story. I have shared my screen. Please, I don't know if you can see. I need to know if we can all access my screen. Can we?
Yes, ma'am. We can see.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I want to start. I love to tell stories a lot. And my training, I don't like people to be bottled up. I don't like people to see us, see if we are doing a very serious thing. No, we are just going to take it. So I met a man some time ago. I just want to give you a short illustration. I met a man some time ago. And I was actually asked to go do audits in his company. So when I went there, he has an organization he works. He has a large conglomerate. He has an organization. So when I went there, that was my first time of going there. I understood there've been auditors coming around, and when they come, they'll leave. They come, they'll leave. So when I went there, I observed with dismay and with shock that a big organization like that did not have any system in place for SCM, that's for supply chain management. They didn't have any system in place. And when I asked the owner of the organization, he was like, ma'am, all I do is I provide services to people and my money comes in. I keep smiling to the bank. I check my account balance keeps increasing. And that's the most important thing. So I don't understand what you're trying to say, madam. I have people who work for me. I pay them salaries at the end of the month. And then when I render services to people, I get my my profits and I keep smiling to the bank. I just laughed. The reason I laughed was because he did not understand he doesn't understand where we are today. Doesn't understand that we are in the world of technology. He didn't understand that that we are in a complex world. That the world has turned into a global village, just a small chain that everything can just be seen around in a little circle. So he was still dwelling in the traditional method. So I had to talk to him and help him to put some things in place. Because of that, he is not where he's supposed to be. He should have been very, very far up there, attain excellence, but he did not because he didn't know, because he lacked the right knowledge. So you see why the knowledge of supply chain management is important. Another scenario, another thing I want to tell you, in the days of our parents, we used to have, in the olden days, we used to have trade by barter, where you have what you have. I have a shoe and you need a dress. I have a shoe and you need a dress. You need a dress. I have the dress. I need a shoe. So I'll take my dress to you because you need a dress. Well, would exchange what we have as depending on what we need. I give you what you want, you give me what I want. That was what was happening. It was easier then because we didn't have this level of technology and everything. But now, the way the world has metamorphosed into the world is now, you need to have the right knowledge in order to move. In a pharmacy, in a hospital, you need to know how to go about things, how to get your drugs, how to save, how to store them, what to do, how to be on top of your game to ensure that you satisfy your customers. Okay, at this point, like I told you, I can stop and ask questions at any time. So at this point, I want to ask, before we go to what we have, to the slide, I want to ask, someone should please tell me, what is the bottom line of every business person? What do you hope to achieve going into business? Whether you are selling pure sachet water, whether you are doing selling groundnuts, whatever you are doing, any business, be it a complex one or a simple one, what is your objective and what is your aim? I pause at this point and I just want one person to give me that response. What is every business aimed at getting? Pardon? To get what? Profit. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Profit is what we expect to get. Anybody that goes into business expects to be profitable. Good. Thank you so much. I can see so many comments. Beautiful. Profits. Everyone is saying the same thing. We are trying to target and to hit profit. Thank you for these responses. So how can you hit these profits? Everything you do as a business owner, everything you do as a business owner, as a housewife, as anything you do is aimed at achieving something. If you run a business, you are aimed at achieving profits. Then how can you maintain that balance between you achieving profit and being up there? You have to make sure that you satisfy your customers. That is the bottom line. Because it is these customers that bring the money. It is these customers that take you there. It is the customers that you are there. The reason you are there is because of the customers. It's just like you tell a teacher, the reason you are there and paying you as a teacher is because of the children. So you have to handle the children well. If you let them go, if you do drive them away, then you are not going to remain where you are because you won't have children to teach. So if you drive your customers away, if you don't satisfy your customers, if you don't achieve, you don't meet their expectations or exceed their expectations, then you cannot continue to be in business. So you can say now, you can pause now and ask yourself, why is our facilitator emphasizing, talking about business? Supply chain is not only about business, like you selling a particular, maybe selling granite or be having a big organization. Supply chain cuts across all facets of life because it simply talks about how you are able to make use of what is in your hands, how to make it to grow and metamorphose, make it to move from stage to stage and get to the end consumer, get to the person that needs it. Just as we are on this platform, a training is going on now. MJB management and integrated services in cohorts with Pharmacists Group, Young Pharmacists Group, have worked together to ensure that this training is made possible. So many things, if you are to ask him, he'll tell you so many steps he has gone through, so many stages he has gone through. And we are here today seeing the end result to try as much as possible to make you happy, to ensure that you are satisfied at the end of this training. So that is supply chain management. It doesn't have to mean that you have to have a big organization. No, in anything you do, make good use of what you have. Follow the next step by step. Step A, I'm to do this, B, C, D, and then I've achieved this. That is supply management. That's supply chain management. So without wasting time, let's move to, like we have seen there, supply chain management. That's what we are going to look at in this course as we progress. Now, we're on slide 3. Are we together, please? Course outline. Can we see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So throughout those 3 days, 3 Saturdays, thank you, we are going to be looking at, like we already can see here, the course outline. We're going to be looking at all those things. Introduction to supply chain management, global supply chain management, and so on and so forth. Everything you can see there. So we are going to have to break it. I'm going to break them into 3 modules. Today, we are going to have we are going to talk about the first 3 modules, and then we'll proceed to the next 3 modules, and then we'll go to the last 2 at the last Saturday. So let's move. Why supply chain management? Why supply chain management? There is nothing on this slide because we are going to pause for some time to interact and talk about this. Now, why supply chain management? Like I said before, the business world have changed. This business world have changed. It has gone from what we used to do, the traditional method of someone having to move around and hope you want to buy something, you know, oh, if I want to buy maybe a school bag for my daughter, or I want to buy food, I need to go to the market, or I need to visit a particular place, go there and spend time and, you know, transport and do a whole lot of things before I get there to buy what I want. Gone are those days. Now, like I said, the world has changed. Globalization, more severe competition here and there. You find out that you can get a particular service or you can get a particular product from over 1 million people around the world. So if you, as a person that gives that product, or you as a person that administers that renders that service, you are not on top of your game. You don't have the right knowledge. You don't know what to do to satisfy your customers. Then in a flash of lightning, in a speed of lightning, other people, there's even someone that is standing there, a better offer could even come from another person. So it is important that we have this knowledge of supply chain management so that we can do those common things uncommonly. We do those common things uncommonly so that we can have an edge in the business world. So with severe competition here and there, heightened customer expectations, customers expect so much from business owners. Customers expect so much from people that are into one thing or the other, into any form of service rendering. Customers expect so much. As the day go by, their expectations on a particular service is increasing. So we are talking about why supply management. Why do we need to have this knowledge now and at this point? Now, technological impacts to factors. So many things have So many things have come into play. So there is the need for us to have this knowledge. Okay, now let me narrow it down to pharmacists. You know why? When I was asked to give this talk, I was happy when MJB management, the institute consulted me to give this training. I was happy because I know that I would be talking to professionals. I would be talking to professionals as well as other people that want to have this knowledge. So even as in being a pharmacist or in this pharmaceutical industry, there are changing demands every day, changing demands in the type of drugs, in the volume of drugs, in the delivery of these drugs. And like I said, because you are not able to meet up, the pharmaceutical industry is not able to meet up with all these things at the same time to do all they have to do with the fluctuations and increase in demand, then that is why it is important for them to have this knowledge. And failure to do this, it can lead to loss of lives. Of course, you know, loss of lives, you are dealing with human lives. And if supplies are not delivered, imagine a person in a critical condition and the person needs a particular drug and they've checked in the pharmacy, the drug is nowhere to be found, they need to move to here and move to there. Time wasted can lead to the death of the person. So for us to save lives, it is for us to save lives and see how to make people live longer, see how to do businesses better and meet up with the trend and technology, meet up with this century, then we have to step up our game, especially as pharmacists now and as others as well. Good. So the strong supply chains, when you learn the supply chain management, it will help you to transform public health. And it will have a huge impact on your delivery, on how you attend to your patients, on how you are able to ensure that there is healthcare services provided on time and in time for your patients. So you see that the need for us to learn supply chain management cannot be overemphasized. We cannot overemphasize it. It is very important at this point. Okay. Now, are we together, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear one particular beautiful voice of a lady.
Yes, we are together.
Men, I would like to hear the men's voice as well. I'm hearing the ladies.
Yes, we are together.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
we are
you. Want to
together,
be gender-centered. I don't want to say because I am a woman, so I want to hear the men's voice too, the men, the heads. Okay. Meaning of, now we are looking at the next slide, which is supply chain management. Take a look at, just visualize a chain. Most of us have chains, either the ones we wear as adults or the ones we wear as women or as men. We have chains. Now, the chain we wear on our neck, if you can visualize it, you would see that it is made up of so many components. It is made up of so many parts. The parts just keep interlocking, joining together, moving together. Chain goes and goes round and round. All the chains, all the different subgroups, small parts, coming together, joining together to give you the total chain you wear on your neck. That is simply how a supply chain is. It is a network. It is a network, and a network of different people, different activities that come together to ensure that the final consumer or the consumer is actually satisfied. That is the simple meaning. I want us to see the supply chain. I want to come down to the barest level so that everybody, be it pharmacist, whoever, housewife, anyone, a layman even, can understand what we are talking about. That is the way I like my trainings to be. Now, a supply chain is simply a network between a company and its suppliers, created to produce and distribute a specific product to the final buyer. Simple. Before something is made, you see the final product, you go and buy. If you are a consumer, you want to buy that thing. So much work has been put into it. So many stages have been passed through before you eventually get to the point that you have to pick that product. And the stages are made up of different activities, different people. the person that puts it in the packet, in the container, the person that transports it to a particular location, the warehouse where it is kept, the manufacturer, the person that made that particular product, that it was in the process of making it, producing it, manufacturing it. And above all, nothing can be manufactured without the raw material itself. For instance, let's look at, let me give you an example of a furniture maker, of someone that makes the furniture. Now, let's deviate from the pharmacy setting now. Now, a person that makes the furniture, what is the first step? A manufacturer, before a manufacturer can manufacture furniture, he or she has to get to the forest. The first stage, you have to get to the forest. Think of the kind of wood you are going to have to use. Maybe get into Sambisa forest, for instance, and get the wood, the type of wood. Are you going to use mahogany? Are you going to use, I don't know, the types of woods? Well, which wood are you supposed to? You have to go look for that wood. Start from the sawing process, cut down the wood. Now, when you get the right wood for the furniture, you take it to the manufacturer. The manufacturer now gets to work. You get the raw materials. Then the manufacturer works on the raw materials, processes the raw materials, moves with the raw materials. Processes it, I beg your pardon, processes it and gets the exact products, like to get the cushion chair or the material and all these are processes before you finally get the home furniture that a consumer will come to get, maybe that a consumer ordered for. So you see, these are different stages. People, entities, information too is not out of it. Information from the consumer, I want to have a new settee in my house, so I'm placing an order for home furniture. I need you to do it like this in this specification. I need it like this. That is information that is given to you. From there, you work on this information to the supplier, manufacturer, and that is how it moves. So a supply chain is simply broad. It's made up of different factors, it's made up of activities, it's made up of people, it's made up of information, it's made up of resources. That is what a supply chain means. Like we can see it on this slide. A supply chain is very, very, very broad. Just as a chain, when once one particular part cuts out of the chain, of course, you know what happens. You cannot wear the chain again on your neck. If a part cuts or something, or one particular strand that is joined or is linked is out of that chain, you cannot wear it on your neck again because it's cut, it will cut. So that's just how a supply chain is. It ensures that it's a chain that ensures that everybody works together. You move together. Nothing is out of it, because one part of the chain, one of the parties that make up the supply chain, if there's a fault there or it goes out there, eventually leads to the disconnect of that supply chain and the business cannot work. You cannot satisfy your customer. All right. Let's see as we progress. Let's move to the next slide. Now, okay, thank you. Thank you for that suggestion. You see why I said that training is a collaborative thing. It's not only for Dr. Mrs. Dorothy to do, or MJB management. Like someone has just said that the host should please mute all participants. Thank you so very much. You see, thank you for that input, which I think we are getting a free flow now. So as I was saying, just as we have just talked about a free flow of the training by muting the participants, we are looking at 4 intrinsic flows of supply chain. Now, in supply chain, there are 4 very important things that must be considered. That is what is called intrinsic flows. Those things have to work pari passu. They have to work hand in hand to ensure that the supply chain does not have a disconnect, that no part of it is out. Because when a part of it is out, it disconnects, it's just like the human body. When one part goes wrong, When something happens to one part of the human body, it affects all the body. That's just how supply chain is. So let's look at these 4 intrinsic flows of the supply chain. Now, the first part that we want to look at is the material flow. Material flow. In every supply chain, we have the raw materials. Take note of what I said, the raw materials, the very first stage of supply chain, the raw materials. Before anything is made, it comes from raw materials. Like pharmacists, we all know, and you agree with me, that the drugs we use so many things to make drugs. So those are the raw materials, regardless of the kind of drugs. They have to get those materials. If the materials are not available, then the drugs cannot be formed. They cannot be made. So material flow simply means or talks about the flow of raw materials, how raw materials move from the beginning of the supply chain, from the beginning of the first stage of the supply chain, how it moves from stage to stage till the end of the supply chain, which becomes the finished product. Like I talked about the wood that you can cut from the forest. If you are a furniture maker and you process the wood, you work on the wood, the manufacturer, the raw material, the person that gets the raw material supplies the raw material to the manufacturer. The manufacturer in turn works on it and processes it, perhaps to supply or give to a wholesaler. You know, a person that sells furniture wholesale, has different types of furniture, supplies it there. Then from the supplier, perhaps maybe to the retailer in some cases, not all cases follows horizontally, step by step, that line of supply chain. But if we have maybe a retailer picking from the wholesaler, okay, I have available, how many sets of settee do you need? You pick it up, and then the consumer then finally gets it from the retailer. So material flow simply talks about the movement, you know, cutting the wood down, like I said, from the forest as the beginning, move across the supply chain and ends as the home furniture in the home of the consumer. Simple. So that is one of the intrinsic flows of supply chain. That's one of the things that happens in supply chain that cannot function. Like we can see here, that a supply chain, a furniture supply chain, can never be confused. That's another thing I want you to understand. A pharmaceutical, like I've given you this illustration, a pharmaceutical supply chain can never confuse itself with maybe a chocolate manufacturing supply chain. No, because they have their own different peculiarities. They have their own specialties, their areas. So a pharmaceutical supply chain may move in a different direction, while a chocolate supply chain will move in a different direction. But the fact still remains that the major things still center and dance around being the same. But they don't confuse themselves. It can never interlock. It can never move together. They can never cross each other because they are different things, are different extremes. So, are we together, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate the fact that we have just 2
Yes,
people
please.
here. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we have to.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, as I was saying, now we move to the information flow. The beautiful thing about this training and about supply chain management is that most of the words you are going to see here, the terminologies you are going to see here, are self-explanatory. Self-explanatory in the sense that they explain itself even from the word. Like we talked about material flow, now we are looking at information flow. Like I said earlier on, no good supply chain can flow without information, because information has to come from the consumer, from the person that is placing the demand. Of course, whatever we do is to be sold to people, is to be sold, is to be given, sold. Someone wants it. It starts from the demand of the consumer. The consumer, the customer is key, like they say in business. The customer is the one that brings the first information, that tells you, this is what I need, this is what I want. So from there, you now know what to do. So information is important, and the information has to move from one place to another. Maybe you pass the information, the retailer has to let the wholesaler know that, oh, I would need a particular number of this thing. Oh, I would need so containers of drugs for tuberculosis or for asthma or for this, I would need this. And then the wholesaler will now say, okay, if that's the case, you need The wholesaler now has to get that information, collate the information, put the data together, and then move ahead to communicate the information to the manufacturer. The manufacturer will now know that, okay, this A, B, C, D, E needs this number of. So that means we have to manufacture this quantity of it. As such, processes will now, as such, the manufacturer will now have to know the raw materials that will come in. Okay, for me to manufacture this quantity of drugs for tuberculosis or for HIV or for this or for that, I need this quantity of raw materials. I need to get this. So you see, information flow has to move. It has to move. Information, the demand information flow, forecasting. Okay, if I'm looking at this, in January, we had this number of people coming for their normal antiretroviral drugs. For this month, this month, this is the number that is getting. Okay. So that means in March, because of this, because of that, because of the awareness, because of the sensitization, more people will be coming in for these drugs. Okay. So I can forecast and know that as a pharmacist in a hospital or a pharmacist that has my own operation, that I operate on my own, an independent pharmacist, I would need to have this number of drugs because this will happen at that time. More people will come in. So you can forecast. Forecast, that's to tell in advance, this is what I'll expect. So you work with a whole lot of information in a supply chain. A whole lot of things come into play. Now, unlike the material flow, like I talked about, the information flow can run both directions. Go forward, backward, upstream and low stream. It can, oh, I beg your pardon. We have a okay, upstream and downstream. It can come anyhow, any way. It can be forward, it can be backward. So any supply chain will have its own set of information flows that are vital to its existence. Just as I said, just as I told you, everybody, they have their own unique, every kind of supply chain has its own unique existence. What works for a company that processes bread is not what will work with a pharmaceutical industry. What works with a wood-making factory or a furniture-making factory is not what will work with a chocolate industry. So they all have their different peculiarities and things that are vital to their own existence. Very, very important. So please, let us take note of that. Okay. All right, so now, finance flow, from the word finance, like I said, that it's self-explanatory. Finance flow simply tells us one thing, simply talks about the fact that money is needed to have a solid supply chain. That's the summary. Money is needed, finance is needed to have a solid supply chain. Because the finance flow, the finance section, the money, the cash that comes into a supply chain is practically the bloodstream of the supply chain, just like a human being. Without blood, you cannot function. Your body cannot function. That is the way supply chain is. Without money, without the customers demanding, without the customers paying, without the money coming into the supply chain business, then there will be no need for us having supply chain. There will be no need for, there won't be any need for any business standing. So for any supply chain, like I have said, there's only one source of such finance flow. And what is the source? Of course, from the end consumer. The person that wants to buy a home furniture has to make the money available. That's where the finance comes in. It is that money that will now be set aside to say, okay, this will take care of the manufacturing, this will do this, and this will do that. Everything dances around that. So the distribution and the sharing of this single financial resource across the supply chain will allow for better alignment, just as you can see. And it will help to settle, to reward the contributing, the participating companies, all the companies that are involved, be it the companies that sell the material for covering the home furniture, the companies that sell the tires, that supply the tires, the ones that bring in the raw material, the company that is involved in the practical forming, putting these things together and practically manufacturing a home settee, a home furniture. All those parties need money. So finance, money and finance flow is extremely very, very important. Remember, like I said in the start of this training, any question, I am going through the chat box. Even as I am talking, I'm going through the chat box. So if at any point you have any question, please put it there. But there will be a time for open questions. And the questions, take notes, we are going to rub minds. From learning what I have said, the question doesn't really have to be answered by me. All the participants, anybody that has a knowledge could answer the question so that I could equally also learn from you. So it's a collaborative thing. It's not about me this time around. Thank you. So you can drop your questions in the chat box. All right. So as I was saying, the finance flow is what I talked about. We've just finished talking about that. The finance flow, that money is important. The distribution of that money that the customer pays, that the consumer pays for his or her goods, for the goods, is what will be used to run and maintain the supply chain. And that is still what will help to move to serve as reward for the participating companies, for everybody that have put their hands together to ensure that the consumer is satisfied, to ensure that the end product is actually given to the consumer. These are things that are very, very, very important for us. All right. As I was saying, now let's move to the next slide. We've just finished talking about finance flow. Remember that I said that there are 4 intrinsic flows. 4. So far, we've talked about the first one, which is the material flow, the information flow, the finance flow, and now we are going to look at the last one, which is the commercial flow, commerce. Already, commerce, you know what we are talking about, what we are looking at. So now, in a supply chain, there are transactions. It's transactional. There are transactions. There are things that happen from one stage to another. From the consumer, which is the first stage that will tell you what he or she needs, to the supplier, to the manufacturer, to the people, even the people that go into the logistics aspect, that move it from one location to another. All these people work hand in hand. They work pari passu. One side must not relent in his or her own action or in his or her own duty. Failure for any part to perform to his or her own best. That's to do his or her own best and ensure that resources flow, the demand of the consumer is met, and the expectation, or even beyond the expectation of the consumer, is met, then there's going to be issues. That's why everybody needs to work hand in hand. So in the commerce ownership, that's what I want you to understand. They change ownership from one hand to another. One hand to another. The raw material moves to the hand of the manufacturer or the production. Let's put it, if you don't say manufacturer, you say production, where it is produced. It moves from where it is produced to the wholesaler. The wholesaler moves it to the retailer, and the retailer moves it to the consumer, especially in some chains that don't go into the manufacturing process, like they don't manufacture, it just starts from them getting it and ensuring that they get it, they keep it safe, they keep it well, they ensure that it's not with them till it expires, till it's handed over to the person that demanded as the consumer. So there's some kind of supply chains. We are going to talk about it as we progress. So like we have here, the transactional process of buying and selling shifts the material flow ownership from the supplier to the buyer repeatedly until the supply chain is definitely completed, when it lands in the hand of the end consumer, the person that demanded for it. Flow will only take place in a supply chain where there are more than one company. Sometimes you have a supply chain that is very small. very, very peculiar, relevant to people that do that. But if it's for organizations where you have to you have to outsource. When we get to sourcing, you understand what I mean? You have to consult this company. Okay, I am making this, I am making sofa, I am making home furniture, I am supplying this particular set of drugs. This is what you're expected to do for me. I need you to get me the wrap, the cover for the settee. I don't have them. I need you to supply me with the cover for the settee. Okay, I need you to supply me the tire for this and tire for that. So you need companies, you outsource it. Companies take over and do some of those things, give you those things you need to ensure that you have a smooth run. You are able to do what you have to do. All right. Okay. Now, what is the main purpose, like we can see, of a supply chain? We've already talked about the importance, but there's something I want you to understand here on this particular slide. That's why I put it. I had to just put it on its own. If you can see, it's not made up of plenty words. Now, what is the purpose of the supply chain? For everything, there's nothing you do in life that you don't know the reason, that you don't know the purpose. Whatever you do, you must know. You are working today, you know why you are working, you know why. You are doing business, you know why you are doing business. Like I started by asking you, why does anybody do business? Why is anybody into business? So for you as a supply chain, why do we have supply chain? Supply chain network is simply geared at satisfying your customer needs. That is all. Because if you satisfy your customers, you continue to be relevant in the world of business. Because people will keep coming to you, people will keep wanting to buy from you, people will keep knowing that you are reliable, that they will not come to you and you cannot provide what they want. So the main purpose of supply chain is simply to satisfy customers' needs. Customer is at the center of supply chain. Whatever anybody does, the manufacturer, the logistics manager, the warehouse, everything put together is geared towards one thing, to ensure that your customers are satisfied. They get what they want, when they want it, the right time, the right quantity, and the right quality. All these things are things that are very, very necessary. We are going to see it. Today is the first day. So some of these things that I talk, I'm just saying it on the peripheral, on the surface. As we progress to subsequent times, we are going to get to see that supply chain is very broad. By the time we delve deeper, we are going to see that supply chain is very broad. Okay, let's continue. So the essence of having the purpose of this supply chain is simply what we have talked about, to satisfy customers' needs. And in the process, you to generate profits for yourself, like we talked about. So it is important that you visualize information, your funds, your product flow, everything as a supply chain manager or someone that is involved at any point in the supply chain. It is important that you know what is expected of you. It's important that you have this knowledge so that you keep yourself on top of your game. You continue to be relevant in the stream of things and in technology and in this our century. Okay, let's see what we have there. Good. All right. I can see people dropping their questions. Okay. Okay, I can see. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. I was trying to see if there's anything. Okay, so as I was saying, please, I like us to continue. I just stopped to check the chat box. So to become a world-class supply chain, how? Like we said that this world has become a global village. Things work smoothly. I can sit in the comfort of my home, just as I am doing, to order for anything I want, to get anything I want. I can sit in the comfort of my room and just order for it and get it. And because we know that there is what we call competition. Competition is very, 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 very important. Competition is very, very important because it is competition that makes you to step up your game. It's competition that will make you to sit up, knowing that, yes, it is just like, I like to use illustrations. So I'll crave your indulgence. So when you see me pause and divert a little, I like to do, because I've been a teacher, I have taught, and teaching is a part of me. So I like to give you know, some illustrations, just like a marriage. Let me go to marriage. Just like a marriage, a man that marries a wife, one wife, sometimes the wife may decide to relax, knowing fully well that, okay, I am married to, I'm married to one husband, you know, so, and then I'm the only wife of my husband, so I can just decide to be free. But in a situation whereby that husband decides to marry another woman, I'm talking my gender, you understand what I'm talking about. A situation whereby a man decides to marry another woman, your husband decides to marry another wife, you see that there is what they call competition. Because you will try to step up your game. Oh, you want to overdo, because you know that if you don't overdo, the man will say, okay, if you don't want to, what you are not doing, maybe the other wife, I know I can always get it the other way. So you see, so you step up your game. So that's just it. I'm just giving an illustration. Just two people. Then imagine whereby you are in business and you have millions and billions of people performing the same business, rendering the same service. Then how would you want to become relevant in the stream of things? You have to step up your game. You have to be on top of your game. You have to do the common things uncommonly so that you be able to remain relevant in the system of things. For example, even in the pharmaceutical industry, like I'm talking about, you have to continue to see how best to satisfy your customers, which are your patients, people that need those services. You have to do everything you need to do to ensure that you have the right knowledge, how to store your medicines, when to keep them, know their shelf life, know the ones that will be expired easily, that will expire fast. How do you send those ones out? And no account should you be found wanting that a patient or a customer comes in for a particular medication, like in hospitals. I'm very passionate when I talk about supply chain, especially when I am dealing with pharmacists, like I told you, dealing with people that are public health workers, like people that are involved in the life industry, saving life industry, you know. So I have had situations whereby I don't want to mention hospitals here because we are not attacking people or talking about people here, but some settings, pharmacists, you know what I am talking about. Sometimes you get to the hospital and maybe a patient is in a life-threatening situation, an emergency situation, and then you are told that the drugs are not available in the hospital. Oh, go to the pharmacist. If it's not there, like the hospital I know, a public hospital, they'll just say, oh, pharmacists will check. Oh, the drug is not there. We cannot, it's out of stock, but we can write the name so you get it outside. You know, such things, immediately it happens. Like it had happened a couple of times. I just laugh because I am in the supply chain business. And I wonder why we should have such scenarios, especially human life. What if the space of time they are going to get that drug outside, it's not available? The person loses his or her life. So you see, it is very, very important. So if we want to continue being relevant in the scheme of things, we want to continue maintaining that world-class excellence. Even as pharmacists, you can just carve a niche for yourself. You can just stand out there. You can be excellent. You can be known for doing what you know how to do best. You can be known for standing out there. So this is why this supply chain management training is very, very important, especially to pharmacists, because when I was told to handle this program, I was like, thank God, so that I'll be able to speak the way I feel passionately to the pharmacists. And I pray I'll have opportunity to also speak to doctors and nurses as well. I know we may have some on this platform too, because the healthcare sector is one part that I'm very, very passionate about. So let's look at, to become a world-class excellent supply chain system, or to become world-class, what are those things? 4 major dimensions. The first is operational excellence. Operational, from that word operational excellence. Now, all world-class supply chains must have optimized operations. You must step up your game. Your operations must be top-notch. You must be able to forecast, be able to know that, okay, this is the quantity of drugs that we are going to have coming in. Okay, you have to notify the necessary channels. You have to let the hospital know. When the hospital knows, they will now channel it to the manufacturers or to the sectors that produce these drugs, and that way, we'll be able to have the things, the patients will be able to have what they need, and we'll be able to serve the end consumers at the end of the day. So in a world-class supply chain, you have to have optimized operations measured in what? Productivity. It should be productive. It has to be efficient, no dullings, no dull moments. And again, it has to be cost effective. Not because you want to do these things, you go all out of it. You also have to check the cost as well. You have to monitor the cost, know how the operations, how to go about it. Quality also the need for us to have quality in especially pharmaceutical settings cannot be overemphasized. Quality of drugs, very, very important. Quality, how? Expiration dates, shelf lives of drugs. First in, first out. The drugs that go in first are the ones that have to come out first, so that it will not affect, it won't get to their date of expiration. How do you even store these things? How do you store the drugs? There are some drugs that should be kept at so temperature. Some should be stored in a cold place, maybe fit. Another very important one that we have to look at is the strategic fit. Now, all world-class supply chains must also ensure that excellent operations fit to the supply. It depends on what you do. It depends on the services that you render. So, strategic fit. What are your strategies? What are the strategies that are put in place? Okay, if this drug finishes, what am I expected to do? Am I supposed to, what can I do? Strategy, the ways and manner you go about doing things, that is strategy. How do I want this thing to be done? That's very, very important. And as I'm doing this thing, is it to the detriment of the patient, or is it to their own gain? Are the stakeholders going to be happy about it? Stakeholders' interest also. So totally, you look at it holistically. Supply chain is something you don't look at it. You don't look at one part of it. You look at it holistically, because a chain is a holistic thing. It's a group of many things that is put together to be one. So it's holistic. So strategic fit, you look at the strategies that you put in place. Now, all world-class supply chains must ensure that excellent operations fits to the supply chain strategy, to the objectives. What do you hope to achieve as a pharmacist? Ask yourself. I am in a hospital. I run I run a pharmacist of my own. What is my objective? What do I hope? Why do I have this pharmacy? Yes, I want to make profit, but making these profits maximally, what are the things I need to do? What do I need to achieve? Very, very important. Now, what are the internal resources fit? What do they need? What do my customers need? What are the external needs? What do people around need? What drug have they been always coming to us to look for? So these drugs, we have to get it this quantity. Oh, if it is like, it's very broad. It's a whole thing. So another thing is your capability to adapt. That's very, very important. How do you adapt? From the word adapt means change. It comes like this, you are ready for it. It goes like that, you are ready for it. You are dynamic. You are able to change and adapt to situations as they arise. For instance, let me just cast our minds back to when we have during the COVID era. During the COVID era, when we had the COVID-19, do not forget that it just came like that, abruptly. Like it just came when we did not, all of a sudden, everything shut down. Please, let's mute our mics. Remember one of our rules. Now, something happened at that era, especially healthcare, in the healthcare system. So at this point, thank God I am dealing with pharmacists. At this particular point, I would just like to just pause a little and ask you, and ask anybody, a pharmacist. We have pharmacists here, young ones, old ones, working ones, the ones that are still in the business of rendering the service, and the retired ones. We have a whole lot. So I want to tap from your expertise. I want to tap from you. I want you to just tell me, one person can just tell me what happened during that COVID era, when the COVID just came in, at that point that it just came in, and a whole lot was happening. So I just need maybe 1 or 2 sentences. The floor is open. Who is going to build a cart? I like my trainings to be interactive. Someone should tell us what happened, especially in the pharmaceutical industries. What happened to pharmacists? What happened at that time? Remember, we are talking about change, being capable to adapt to change, to be able to be dynamic, to move. When something happens, we adjust ourselves and keep moving. So I want to ask anybody who is willing to build a cart, please, the floor is open. Hello? Wow, it's like no one is hearing me. Please, are we together? Are we still together?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm talking to professionals now. Maybe soon I will soon be a pharmacist because I love this profession so much, but I have not, I don't know, I have not had the time to really delve into it, except in the supply chain aspect. So like I was asking, I just need someone to talk. Anybody? I just need you to tell me, what did you observe during that COVID era? We are talking about dynamism here and ability to adapt. So anybody, the floor is open. I won't do all the talking. I don't like to do too much of talking by myself.
Hello, there was we experienced scarcity.
Okay,
of
please, who
many
is
things.
talking?
Sorry, my name is Pharmacist Diploma.
Okay, for my baby. Wow. I can see a beautiful face there. Go ahead.
Thank
I'm
you,
listening.
ma'am.
All right.
During the COVID era, there was a lot of scarcity, and
Okay.
there was should I say mass scramble. I know that one medication that was, to my own understanding, almost going into extinct, resurfaced that hot cake. I'm talking about chloroquine tablets.
Okay.
So for
Okay.
those that had stocks of chloroquine tablets in their warehouse or their outlets, they
Okay.
smiled to the bank that period.
Wow. Wow.
Then,
Thank you so
with respect to face
much.
masks, there was huge scarcity of face masks, and those that also had, with respect to suppliers, we are smiling to the bank. Many facilities like hospitals had to adapt and start producing hand sanitizers by themselves because the market price was crazy. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so very much, Ifeoma Ibe. Thank you. You see, that's why I said that. I've even learned about chloroquine injection or chloroquine drugs. So I see, I learn every day. The more I do trainings, the more I learn. Thank you so much. Those were some of the things. So Haruna, I can see your hand up, please. You can go ahead, Mr. Haruna.
Yes, thank you very much, Ma. So,
Yes.
regarding the era of COVID, I can still remember there was a drug that the name of that drug is almost everywhere. So even those that did not know the pharmaceutical content of that drug, you will see them say talking about Zithromax. So I think at that time, the supply chain of Azithromax was was uh was I think like the supply of azithromycin was almost everywhere, including those that were not even affected by the COVID. They keep
Yeah.
looking for it. So I think that is it. Over.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haruna. Thank you. I'm happy that a lady responded and also a male. Good. They want to be gender centralized. So thank you so very much. So you see, I was talking about adaptability, but I'll ask, is there any other person? Because I like to give people, is there anybody else that has something different or something to add to that? Okay, so In the absence of any other thing, anybody else having something to say? Okay, I can see Ibrahim. Thank you very much. Ibrahim has said that there was a move of attention in production of materials ranging from face masks. Thank you so very much. You see, these are some of the things. So why did I bring this illustration of COVID? The reason I brought it is because we are all aware of what happened that era. It just came. Like it just came on us all of a sudden. And so many organizations, so many supply chain managers took a long time to be able to adjust and fit into the situation because they were not prepared for it, and as things keep happening like this, things keep metamorphosing, coming up like this. It now emphasizes the importance of supply chain management, because at that time, so many things will be going on. Like we said, face masks will be in the increase, and those that know what to do, that have the correct knowledge of supply chain management, the suppliers and the producers of those things will now have a demand, a high. Before, who used to think of face masks? Who even used to wear nose mask before this COVID? Nobody cares about all those type of things. And it wasn't something that had that demand, that high demand, if not even having any demand at all, But because of the situation, because of what happened, the demand for it now skyrocketed, so that everybody, people selling nose masks, people with face masks, people with the drugs that will help, COVID, that will help people that had that challenge, everything came. And people were struggling to adapt. Suppliers were asking for more of the producers were manufacturing more, the consumers were asking for more, and distribution was going on, production, distribution, logistics, moving it from one location to another, and so on. So many things were happening. So for you to continue to be relevant in the stream of things, then you have to be able to adapt. That is why we are having this training. Adapt to eventualities, adapt to situations. And above all, now let's look at the last but not the least, which is the fourth dimension of being a world-class supply chain, because all we are doing is to pursue the essence. You want to be there. You want to be on top. You are a pharmacist. You want to be known worldwide. You want to know your onions. You want to be able to be confident in your ability to be able to meet up with your customers' demands, to serve your customers, to meet up with their expectations, and even more than what they expect. All right, so let's look at the fourth dimension, which is the unique voice. Every business has its unique voice, and then all world-class supply chain need to develop its own unique signature practices, those practices that are unique to you, that render positive market results. As people that are into supply chain, remember, I am only talking about pharmacists because I know that most of us are pharmacists. So I am trying to narrow it down to help the pharmacists understand it better as they align it to their profession as pharmacists. Even if you are not a pharmacist, like I said, anything you do in any business, you have to, it's just like this, is just like training. Now, even as MJB Management and Integrated Services and the Institute, American Institute of Supply and Transport, there's a chain, there's a supply chain, because when situations arise, like we are in Nigeria, so many people, let me give you an instance, so many people want to go outside, they think the grass is greener outside there, the other side, so they want to have trainings, they want to have caregiving trainings, they want to caregiving because when they go out there, most of the jobs, some of them there will involve you taking care of maybe aged people or knowing how to give self-care and all those things. So that is what is in the increase. Now, you see that training, people they want to know, so that when they go out of the country, they have the ability to do that. They will have what it takes to get there, caregiving. So why am I bringing in that illustration? That is supply chain. So if MJB, the institute, they are aware of this, like they are, where they'll start to see how to work out modalities to ensure that people are trained in this area so that they will know what to do. So supply chain, the reason I'm bringing this illustration is supply chain takes place anywhere. anywhere, regardless of what you are doing, regardless of what you are doing. In a home, as a married, I like talking about marriage so much, you know, not only marriage, but like for handle to take care of the house. You sit down now as a supply chain manager and think, these are the things I now need. This carton of Indomie for my child to eat for the term. I'll need this. I'll need that. Okay, where can I get it? You reach out. The person you reach out to will reach out to the supplier. The supplier will reach out to the man. That is how so supply chain is cut across everything and anything you do, not only with pharmacies. So every supply chain has to have that unique voice. You have to have that one thing that you do. Remember, I keep saying doing things that are common, uncommonly well. And that's the excellence. For instance, let's look at where I live. I like to give illustrations and scenarios. Where I live, we have people that sell crayfish. They sell this crayfish that we know. You know, about on the streets where I live, about maybe 4 or 5 people sell crayfish. Now, they all buy crayfish where they should buy the crayfish. They all sell it in the same environment to the same people. But you find out that out of those people, there's one particular lady that sells her crayfish the most. Why? Because she has that unique voice. What she does, there's something she particularly does uncommonly. She tells you, if you buy this level of crayfish, she will attach this to it. So people now, even people that don't want to meet that level, they feel that, okay, if I can buy up to maybe 1 custard of this woman's crayfish, she'll give me this quantity, or she will attach this to me. She'll even give me Maggi crayfish so that it will go along with my crayfish when I so that voice is simply what you are known for. Simply what you are known for. Those little things, internally unique practices, coupled with positive market results. When you do, you see that people come to patronize you. You see that you have more people. You see the result. That is your unique voice. So this particular dimension goes beyond benchmarking on best practices. It creates best practices. You sit down and think and reason that, okay, I've had this supply chain training. I don't work in a hospital. I don't have my pharmacy in the hospital. I am on my own. I purchase from wholesalers, people that sell these drugs. The wholesalers get it from the manufacturers, the raw materials providers, the suppliers, and so on and so on. Really believe is that whatever you can excel, you can prevail. Anything you excel in, you know that you can excel in, then you can prevail. The secret is just in you doing those uncommon things uncommonly well. That is where the excellence lies. All right. Now, let's see. Good. Now, remember, I did talk about supply chain. We are still talking about supply chain. Now, if a company makes a product from parts purchased from a supplier, you purchase parts from the supplier, from a supplier. Maybe you make a company that makes a car, you make cars for people. Now, you have to purchase the parts of the car from suppliers. They will supply you with the parts. You make the car, but you don't have all the parts. So you have to buy from people. They supply you with the parts, and this part, you now use it to make the car that you now in turn sell, give to the wholesalers, and they now sell to the customers or to the consumers. Some supply chains are simple, like I told you, very simple. Customer, from the customer, maybe to the wholesaler, and the wholesaler to the manufacturer, and so on. There are some supply chains that are small, and there are some that are complicated. Now, the complexity of this complication of this supply chain varies with the size of your business. Some people have small businesses, just very small. You know that they don't even have to go far. Some people have large businesses. Some people even have businesses that deals with manufacturing, that they have to do manufacturing. They have, so that one, you will not expect that person's supply chain to be like the one I talked about, selling fish. No, it cannot. So It just depends on the size of your business. That's how you will know which particular supply chain would suit you, depend on the size of your business. That is how big your supply chain will be, or that's how you will know the exact type of supply chain that suits you. Okay, good. We've talked about supply chain, supply chain, supply chain. Now, let us look at supply chain management. There are two different things. Now, the supply chain is entirely different from its management. That's one thing I want you to understand. Supply chain, we have already talked about it. Supply chain involves people that are involved in processing and manufacturing and preparing something to end in the hands of the consumer. Now, what is the management? Remember, supply, we've talked about it. Chain, we've talked about it. Management has come to add. Now, this management is simply the coordination. How do you manage and how do you put together all these things, all these parts of this chain, mix it properly, put it together, join it together for it to come out to serve your customers well? That is the management. And this is where the work is. You can have the knowledge of the supply chain, but you don't know how to go about marrying them together. You don't know how to go about putting it together to ensure that all right. So as I was saying, is the coordination of production, inventory. Remember, production coming together with the products, working on it, manufacturing it, that is production, inventory. After the production, you have to know, okay, how many is coming in? Like if you as pharmacists, now, how many is coming in? How many pieces of this drug? How many do we need? How many do we order for? How many is coming in? Are they packed well? Should I keep them here? Are they accessible? So many, a whole lot. Now, location, transportation, how the manufacturer has to think, okay, how am I going to be able to serve the wholesaler? I have made these furnitures, I have made these things. How am I moving it to my customer, which is the wholesaler? How am I moving it? Transportation. So the coordination, production, inventory, location, and transportation among the participants, among the people, the activities, the person that are involved in a supply chain, to achieve the best mix of responsiveness and efficiency for the markets being served. That is supply chain management. In the hospital, for instance, we have different groups and different bodies that will align, that you need information as a pharmacist. They need information from you to be able to ensure that there's a smooth running of the public health sector. They need this information. So as a supply chain manager or a partner in the supply chain business or part of the chain, you have to be able to have the best mix. All these things have to mix together, marry together, mix together, mold themselves together, work together towards the finished products, towards serving the customers, towards making the customers have value for the services. Just like we talked about this MJB, management and integrated services. The platform have worked together. I'm sure Mr. Blessed Jackson has put in a lot of work to ensure that this thing comes out. He had to maybe reach out to the the chairman of the association, talk to him, discussions going forward, backward. They arrived at a conclusion. Good. As I am talking to you, I have to ensure that I have clear, hitch-free internet access so that you not have disruptions when I am talking. I had to get my router to ensure that it is there. I had to make sure there is light, all these things put together. Because when maybe MJB is ready and I as facilitator, I'm not ready, I've not been able to do my own side of the bargain. At the end of the day, you participants will complain, oh, what kind of training is this? And network was interrupting, I did not have value, I did not have this, and it will not speak well of MJB management and of the institute. You understand? So everything, coordinating everything, putting everything together from the beginning to the end, which is the end user, which is the customer, which is the consumer, just as you are listening to this training, is what we call supply chain management. Very, very important. Okay. Thank you. Okay, attendance is going on. I was just looking at the chat box. All right. So as we were saying, I don't know if this is understood, because on the next slide, I'm going to pause and ask you questions to look at that slide and tell me what from this, I've just explained it. So tell me, looking at the slide, tell me the factors or the features that are going to be. So get prepared for the next slide. But before we get there, we were just talking about supply chain management, as I said. So it's simply the management, it's simply the marrying, it's simply the mixing, it's simply the working together of all these participants that are involved in a supply chain to ensure that the end customer and the end user is satisfied and his or her expectation is met. That is supply chain management. So, all right, now let's look at the next slide. Beautiful. This is where I would need us to have some discussions before we would soon have a break. Let us see how far we can still go. So at this point, I would like to pause, looking at that picture very carefully. I want to know, please, are we all together? Can we see this slide?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please, it is important. Normally, I've had 1 or 2 experiences in the course of my training of people, they'll just be online, but they are offline. So that's why I will be asking for response. There are people that will just be online, but they are offline. Maybe they are doing something else somewhere. So it's important that we are here, because especially people that are on this platform, professionals, learned professionals. So you have to learn everything you need to learn to ensure a smooth takeoff. So I was giving you time to look at this picture. So I would like 1 or 2 persons, because I've done a whole lot of talking, which is unlike me. I would need 1 or 2 persons to explain to us what is playing out there on the chat. Perhaps a male and a female this time, people that have not talked to, because you are so many. And I want, in the course of this 3 days training, I want to hear everybody's voice. Very important. I must hear everybody's voice. I like to... Okay, so the floor is open, please. Just in a sentence, we just want to know what is playing out here. I want to be taught this time on this slide. Thank you. The floor is open.
Hello?
Yes, please. Who is on the line? Who is talking?
I'm Pharmacist Nuhu Momo Abdullahi.
Okay, Mr. Abdullahi Momo. Go ahead,
Yes.
sir. Thank you so very much. Go ahead.
What is playing here is a supply chain distribution of commodities from a manufacturer to a consumer. It actually outlines the series of activities from sourcing of raw materials by the supplier to supply of those raw materials to manufacturers, the logistics of the manufacturing process, after manufacturing, the distribution of those products to a unique locations where it will be easily accessible to the final consumers. So it's just like a chain of reaction, like as you have said from the first slide, it encompasses raw materials to processing, distribution, so that the end consumer gets satisfied, their expectation is being met. I think that is what I see about the flow.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Nuhu Abdullahi. That means you have really been paying attention. You know what gives me joy when I do trainings is when I get feedback. Now, I haven't said anything about this, but you've just said it for me. So I am being taught, and it's nice to just sit down and relax while you are being taught. Thank you so very much. That's a beautiful contribution. Any other person? This is the voice of a man.
All right.
Okay.
Pharmacist Osulupe Bikine.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Osulupo. Okay, please go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. From the pictorial diagram, we can see that the commercial flow is coming into play from the raw materials to the supplier, the chain of distribution is going on, as my colleague earlier said. And also the right mix is also being played here. And then we can also see that at the end of the day, the producer and the end user is having a handshake. It means at the end of the day, the products got to the consumer perfectly, thereby giving a good handshake, as you've also described here. Thank you, ma.
Thank you so much, Mr. Osuluku. Thank you very much. You have said it all. Mr. Nuhu said it, and you have said it all. Thank you so much. So that's practically what is playing out here. But I'm not too happy because I haven't heard the female. Is it only the men that have taken over? Is it the men alone that have taken over the supply chain industry? I'd like to know. So my gender, please, one of my genders should say something before we move, because our time is moving very fast. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, ma.
Good morning. Who is speaking, please?
I'm Pharmacist Anita.
Okay, Anita. Suleiman Luba. Am I right?
Yes. Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So just to add to what my other colleagues have said, once there's an alteration in one of the process or one of the positions, maybe from the manufacturer to the distributor, once there's an alteration there will not be visibility for the customer, and there's not a happy customer, there is difficulty in assessment of the goods and services, and there will not be appreciation at the end of the day. That handshake might not even materialize because of the breakage in the accessibility of the service. So the good flow of the goods and services that led from the manufacturing to the distribution, retail, consumer was actually visible because I believe management or supply chain was made effective. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm satisfied now. Thank you so much, Anita. Thank you for all your responses, everyone that have responded, and those that haven't responded too. I'm going to check. I'm here to check the chat box. But primarily, I am happy that I'm talking to professionals and people that are highly knowledgeable. So it makes it easier for me, and it makes us have a very smooth walk through. So like we have there, the supply chain management, you can see everything. You can see the steps that we have there. You can see the steps from the raw materials like we talked about, to the suppliers, to the manufacturers, to the distribution, how it will be distributed, the logistics. You can see the vans, the movements. It's the pictorial. The picture is self-explanatory. Then the distribution, and then to the retail location where it's supposed to be easier for someone to access, and then to the customer. That is just, it is just a circle. It just goes around. It's just a circle. So all these parts have to work concurrently. They have to work efficiently. They have to work to ensure that there's a smooth sail through round the supply chain so that everybody would be happy. And above all, the customers will be happy. Happiness is not only on the part of the customer, even you. When you are doing something and you do it right and you achieve results, then happiness comes into play, even you as a business owner. When you want to do your things and get your things straight, when you get them straight, it gives you happiness, it gives you joy. And above all, when you see your customers happy, then you are certainly happy. You are certainly happier because you know that you are doing it right. So that is what this picture tells us. So even as pharmacists or as people in all walks of life, any profession that you are, the bottom line should be in you ensuring that the customer is happy, because the money comes from the customer, it comes from them. They are the ones that make you to remain relevant in business. So you have to do everything. And also take note that if you don't follow these steps and you don't do it well, you don't give them what they want, then of course they are going to get what they want from millions of people that are competing with you. So it is important that we understand supply chain management and we know how to go about it. Thank you so much. We have dealt very much on this slide. So I didn't want to do the talking on that. So let's progress. All right. Now, in supply chain management, we have concepts. We have certain concepts. You know, we have certain very, very important concepts in supply chain management. what are these concepts? Like we can see they're the pictorial representations of the concepts that we have in supply chain management. Now, the first concepts there, we have three major concepts of supply chain management, three main concepts. The first concept there is SCM configuration. That's supply chain. Anytime I refer to, sorry, I beg your pardon. Anytime I refer to SCM, then you know that I'm talking about supply chain management. So in supply chain management, there are three basic concepts, three very, very important and basic concepts, what we are going to look at in supply chain management. The first concept is the concept of configuration, supply chain configuration. Remember that I told you that it's easier. Most of these concepts are self-explanatory. What do we mean by configuration? Configuration simply means how something is made, how something is formed, how it is made. So as a supply chain manager or anybody participating in any aspect of the supply chain, it is important that you know how to do certain things. So let's delve into the first part, which is the supply chain configuration. Now, what do we mean by supply chain configuration? How do you configure your supply chain? How do you make it, like configuration, forming, making it, architecture? It simply talks about the architecture. Architecture like an architect. You want to build a house. How do you build a house? You draw the plan. I'm going to make it a duplex. I'm going to have two, or I'm going to make it a 5-bedroom bungalow. I'm going to have 2 rooms this way. I'm going to have my toilet here. I'm going to have my kitchen here. Configuration. How do you put together your supply chain? That is configuration. It also talks about how big is your supply base. As the original equipment manufacturer, you are the one at the helm of affairs. You are the one manufacturing this equipment. Let's look at the size of an equipment. How big is this my supply base? How big is it? Is what you have to look at. Now, how narrow is my vertical integration? As we move the next or third slide, we'll talk about vertical integration. So you will understand what I'm talking about. But for here, you can see it in bracket. There is a single ownership of consecutive activities along the supply chain. There are some businesses, some people of which I'm going to give an illustration when we get to that vertical integration. There are people that don't believe in outsourcing. They believe in being the beginning and the end to their businesses. They want to be the manufacturer. They want to own. They want to have they want to claim, have ownership to everything. They want to be the supplier. They want to be the ones to go get the wood from the forest. They want to be the ones getting the material. They want to be, they want to be the single ownership. They want to own all the activities that take place in forming a particular product. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to have a large vertical integration, a narrow one, or a wide one? Do you want to outsource most of your jobs to people, to companies outside? You want to, how am I going to even distribute? How is the logistics? So this particular configuration is simply talking about the architecture, how something is going to be, how you want it to be as a supply chain manager, or even as a pharmacist, or anybody that is involved in the supply chain business. It is important. The configuration is the first step, because who is he that builds a house like that does not sit down to cost? I want to do that, I want to see, but you don't sit down to earmark, to draw out a map of how you want that thing to be. So that is simply supply chain configuration. You understand? So let's move to the next. Then we have the supply chain relationship. Supply chain relationship. I must stop here and stress something. Relationship is very, very important. It's key in every business. Loyalty, trust is key in every business. You cannot have a excellent supply chain. You cannot have a strong supply chain without building the trust of your customers. It does not work, because for a person to patronize you, even you in the supply chain, for you to get outsource outsource. That's you look for someone, a supplier outside to supply you with something that you need. For you to outsource, you need to have a level of trust, a level of confidence in that particular company that you are outsourcing your products to, that you want to render that service to you. Okay, let's come down to a layman's language. If you even want to buy something online now, with the way the world is a global village, you want to buy something online, you cannot just get online and pick anything from it. You must ensure, you must look at the reviews. This person, how long has this person been doing this business? Has the person been delivering? You look at the reviews. You know, I'm sure even you looked at the reviews when it came to this MJB management and AIGT, American Institute of Supply and Transport. You must have, before you bought into this training, to say, okay, let me buy this training. I believe that the chairman or assistant chairman of that organization, he did his findings. He went to check for reviews. He wanted to be sure and ensure that it is not a scam thing, that is a real thing. What have people said about MJB management? What have they said about the Institute AIG? And all those things, you have to do your research. And those research is what will help you build that relationship, will help you relax and say, okay, MJB Management Integrated Services is a trustworthy CPD organization where I know I can continue to develop myself professionally, taking his trainings. So relationship is very important. I tell anybody that does any business, regardless of what you do, be trustworthy, be honest, because word of mouth is very strong in business. Somebody can say, don't go to that person's pharmacy. I went there the other day. I wanted ordinary. He said it was not available. He said he was out, or it was not, he didn't have it. And so, or somebody before they said, I went to that hospital, like I'm telling you the experience I had. I can say, I don't want to mention the name, but that has stuck because of the treatment I received there when I took my grandmother there to that hospital. I didn't get a good report at all, because they didn't give me, in fact, their supply chain was very weak. So everything you needed was going good. They'll write it, go and get it from outside, go here, do it. They were not, I assume they didn't know what they were doing on the whole. So I cannot go there, and I cannot even advise anybody to go there. If anybody says, I want to go to that ABC hospital, I'll say, no, please don't go there. This is what happened to me. So word of mouth. So build relationship with your customers, very, very important. You know, your first year suppliers, have a relationship with your suppliers, people that you have relationship with them, because sometimes you may even need them to give you something, supply you something. You can build a relationship to the extent that they can even supply things to you without you paying. It happens because they have built that trust over time, because they know you are reliable, because they know you know your onions, they know, in fact, they know you. So relationship is very, very important. And the type and level of the relationship is determined by the contents of the interorganizational exchanges. Relationship, they are in different levels. It depends on how big your organization is, how small it is. If it is big, you know, you'll be having many companies key into it, and so on and so forth. So relationship is very, very important, you know. And as people that are involved are in the supply chain business, you need to have this relationship, because it can even help you in terms of the volume, help you, giving you the volume that you need. Maybe you need plenty of a particular thing. Because of your relationship, you surely will be given. Like the person can say, oh, I have built this, I've always been supplying this company. Oh no, I have to make this thing available at a subsidized price. You understand? So also, the relationship will be regarded as close partnership if the parties have exchanged their visions, they have the same vision, their vision and their plans and everything is geared towards helping the customer. So if they have a common goal, it is easier to build relationships and bonds, so that you have a smooth supply chain running and your management will be top notch. Okay. And then the result of long-term relationships, you can see it there on that slide, is better and better quality and lower cost. The more you have a relationship with someone, you do business with the person for a longer time, it gives you certain opportunities that ordinary and you wouldn't have had on the first, or if you hadn't built that a relationship with that person over time. So relationship is very important. Please, you can drop your comments, drop anything on the chat box if there's anything, because it's almost time for our break and we'll soon have to pause. Okay, so supply chain coordination. Remember, we had 3 joined together to form that circle. So we've talked about the first one, and then the second, and now we are looking at the third, which is supply chain coordination. Now, what is coordination? Operational coordination, like we talked about, simply how you go about it, how you look at the material flows, the suppliers, you keep in touch, you call information, you know how things are going on. Then inventory management, you take stock of what comes into you, you are sure you take data, or you keep record of what is going out, you keep record of people, the demand, how many people are buying this thing at a particular time, a whole lot of things, production capacity, forecasting. Remember I told you that forecasting, like when we had that COVID, when it started in the onslaught, people forecasted and knew that, if this thing is like this, oh my God, it means it's going to skyrocket. And we are having more increase. We're having more people complain. They are stressing the importance of kitting ourselves up with the face mask, washing our hands, and all these sanitizers. So ordinarily, a person that has a good coordination knowledge of supply chain will know that, okay, this is what's going to happen. Okay, so I can forecast that if it is like this, just this first month, it means next month will be worse. So I need to see how to, get more of these supplies. I need to begin to manufacture. If it is those making the nose mask, I have to reach out to them to start sewing it, to make it available, to make it handy, and so on. And coordination important. Put everything together. Coordination is important in a home. How you coordinate your family, what they are going to eat. A woman understands what I'm saying. How, when they come back, the uniform they wear, if you are a mother, even if you are not a mother, in your workplace, this is what is expected. I have to do this and I have to do that. Very, very important. That is coordination. So all these things come together, all the activities come together to form supply chain coordination. How you go about marrying it and moving it, making it to run smoothly like we saw on that diagram, so that at the end, you can have a beautiful handshake with your customer and there will be joy and peace at both ends. There's nothing as bad as when we have issues. Maybe somebody buys something and returns what I ordered for versus what I get, or you wanted a good quality of something, but you saw that you are getting a bad quality. So many things happen. So all these things are things we have to look at to avoid it, to avoid it happening to us. Okay. Right. Now, before I call on MJB management for us to take our break, I would like to just tell you one little thing. Remember I said, for you to survive in business, for you to be top-notch, you have to do the uncommon things. I mean, the common things uncommonly. You just have to make sure that you do the common things uncommonly well. I want to give you an illustration. For a long time, I like to just share stories so that we are not bored. I went to the bank some days ago. I went to the bank. I am somebody that I don't like going to the bank. If there's anything I hate, is going to the bank. I don't like anything taking me to the bank, especially since we had those issues of maybe armed robbers invading the banks and shooting people at the counter and all that. So from that time, I developed phobia. I don't know what it's called, but I developed phobia for going to the bank. But some days ago, I decided to go to the bank because I had something very important to do. I was asked to get my bank statements. So I had to move into the bank. I have not been there for a long time, for about a year or 2 years. Now, whatever I do online. My transactions, I do use the UPA app, and so on. So I went to the bank, and when I went to the bank, I was on the counter trying to get my ATM and to get my bank statements. And all of a sudden, I heard one of us in the banking hall, someone came and just called on the attention, hit the table and said that, please, all our customers, we need you to gather here. We have an information for you. I was, oh my God, what has happened? I don't like coming to the bank, or I don't even know what is this. So I hope nothing has happened though, because I wanted to just leave. So everybody now converged. I person say, oh, it's nice to have you here. You are all welcome to this bank. This, we are here to serve you. This, that, and that. And I want to tell you that every Wednesday, we take this time to celebrate our customers at exactly this time. That's why we have refreshments for you. We have this for you. I was like, hey, when did this happen? Because it's been long I've gone to the bank. I was like, hey, I've never known this bank that you come and line up and sweat and nobody will attend to you and you see the line and it's dull and what's happening, because I've not been there for like 2 years. I'm giving this illustration for you to know that everybody has stepped up their game, and for you to remain relevant, you have to do the common things uncommonly. So they had to now bring refreshment. They brought me a bottle of drink, brought for everybody. They were taking sweets around and I was like, hey, some people were shocked and just looking. So that singular act now has given that bank an edge over others. It doesn't mean the people that are there don't know where to buy drinks or don't have money to buy drinks. No, but they have taken a particular method. They have done a thing that is common, uncommonly. They have, so now people were so happy that day, and we were like, so they have stepped up. Oh, this is good. Oh, thank God I'm still with this bank and so on. So I just wanted to share that with you. The world has changed, so we have to try to change as it is changing. I don't know if there's any question, just one or two questions or contributions before we take the break, because we have to be back here. The next phase is going to be shorter than this. Do we have any question or any contribution,
yes,
please?
Please, what's the difference between logistics and supply chain?
Okay, very good. Now, logistics and supply chain. Supply chain is broad in the sense that it deals with the people, the means of disseminating, of giving the product, from carrying the product from one place to another. It's almost the same thing. That's why I know you asked. But logistics, from the word logistics, talks more about transportation. Transportation, that's movement. How is it carried? Maybe you are getting some, how is it going to move from one location to another? Logistics mostly deals with that. It's almost the same thing, but supply chain management is broad. As we progress, we are going to see. When we get to the point, I have something like that in the slide. If not today, tomorrow, you are going to see the major difference. If not today, next Saturday, I beg your pardon, we don't have training tomorrow. You are going to see the major difference. But when someone says logistics, mostly has got to do with movement, transportation, carrying it from one place to another. That is the major, the focal point of logistics. But supply chain management is broad. It deals with the coordination, it deals with talking to the people, it deals with a whole lot. As when we get to the slide, you are going to see the major distinction between the supply chain and logistics. I don't know if, for now, if that has answered your question to an extent.
It has, ma. Thank you, ma.
Okay, we'll get to that slide. When we get there, let me know your name, please, because I'm going to refer to it when we get to that slide.
Finyoyelude.
Okay, Chinenye, I don't know, but I don't know. Okay, no problem. When we get there, I'll remind you. Thank you very much. So please, if you have any other questions, just drop it there, because MJB should be on my neck. We should have gone for break as at this time. So please, MJB.
Yes, ma. Yes,
are you there? Please,
yes,
I think it's time for us to have break, so we
okay.
can take something. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Dorothy. It's a good PhD. At this point in time, before we go on our break, I don't know whether Mr. Hassan Muma Dankano is he with us, our National Vice Chairman. Can you say hi to the house?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah, I want to appreciate
Nice
everyone
having you.
for coming to this for this class today. Thank you all. Thank you to our facilitator for this wonderful delivery. We appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Thank you, the National Vice Chairman. At this point, we'll go on break. We'll take a break, and we'll be back exactly 12:10. We'll be back exactly 12:10. So we have 15 minutes break. So see us around 12:10.
Thank you so much. Thank
Hello,
you.
good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good
Yeah,
morning.
my name is Olayemi Molayo. Sorry, this is not a question. I actually would appreciate if the facilitator return back to slide 18. I had a network break by that time. So I want to see what is in on slide 18.
Okay, Mr.
While
we'll do that. Okay.
While we're on break, maybe you can take it back while we go on break.
A'a, maimakon ki dafa zobo.
Ba na son zobo.
To ki dafa nana.
Nana tun shekaran jiya shi nake shi. Ko ne shan shi har da
Wallahi
magana ba
Nescafe bai da kyau. Sai sa ba ki bacci.
Gidan ki ne?
Kin san ce nake ban da lafiya saboda na biye muku na kai karfe 3 ba ji ba.
Wa ya sa ki ya gaishe ki?
Wallahi ji nake ban da lafiya. Tun jiya ma ba ki ga ina muna magana sai jikin yana min wani
Wa ya gayyace ki? Wa ya sa ki?
da ne bari in ƙara jira shi.
Ita na
Wallahi duk da na biye muku ba har na kai 12 ya wuce ban yi bacci ba sai na ji ban da lafiya. Ko ubana. Ga hana
Okay, thank you. Welcome back, everybody. I trust we are back. Are we back? We can see some people are still having break, but we don't have time. We don't have much time. Hello, everybody. Are we back?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm seeing 46 participants when we are more, so maybe others are still there. Okay, because we don't have time, so I just have to move. Thank God the slides, we are going to have, MJB will have the slides given to you. So anything you miss, you'll be able to catch up with it because we work with time. All right, so we stopped at categories. Okay, we stopped at the last concepts of SCM, supply chain management. So we want to look at the critical phases of supply chain management. Now, they are, why they call it critical, they are very important phases that you have to meet on your supply chain journey. So let's look at them: planning, sourcing, manufacturing, logistics, and delivery. These are the 5 critical phases of supply chain management. Now let's look at planning. Like the word already implies, planning has got to do with you knowing that it encompasses all the activities that are aimed at optimizing the of goods and information. Now, planning, you as the supply chain manager, or you are in the supply chain business, you have to look and think of ways and plan ways that, you know, will definitely move, that will help to move the supply chain forward. How are we moving these goods? What are the information we have gathered? How many of these things are we letting out? How many do we need for the manufacturing? Everything you have to know. Forecast, like we talked about the COVID era, you forecast and know, anticipate. That's forecasting, like having an overview of what you think will be the challenge in some time to come. This is what we need. This is what we'll be having. If you look at your data and statistics, you say, okay, maybe last year, by this time of the month, we had this sales. We had this level of sales. You look at it, you follow past data and present data, everything you weigh together. So planning involves effective planning helps you to minimize disruptions, where you have less disruptions. Maybe something is supposed to be sent to another person, supposed to be transported to another person, you have disruptions if you don't plan effectively. But with effective planning, you have strategized, you have thought about how you are going to go about it, you have a warehouse to keep your goods, you know how to fix your transport activities, that's the logistics, how to coordinate transportation. Everything put into play helps you to get a total holistic, effective supply chain. Very important. Okay, it also requires a strategic approach. You know, we talked about doing common things commonly. Do it in a way that, you know, have your strategic approach. Collaborate with key stakeholders. Who are the people involved in this business that we are doing? Okay, we need the manufacturer, the supplier, everybody involved. Let's put our heads together and see how to make this thing work. Proper collaboration, planning is very, very important for the success of any supply chain. Then we go to manufacturing. Then that we already know, manufacturing, what it encompasses the production, making of a particular thing is manufacturing. You know, from the raw material stage, look at the components involved. What are the things I'm going to do? Like making a car. Okay, I need the glasses for the windscreen. Maybe can we get the windscreen? No, we have to outsource it. Someone should supply the windscreen, another person supplies the tires. All we do is to put them together and so on and so forth. Manufacturing, very, very important. Production planning, optimizing workflow efficiency, quality control. In the midst of all these things, do not water down your quality, because it's very important. In anything, quality is even more important than quality. Okay, when you understand that manufacturing plays a very strong role, a very crucial role in supply chain, because manufacturing influences cost and it ensures that the product is available. If someone wants a thing and the manufacturers do not have it available, someone demands for a particular good, your consumers demand for a particular good, and it's not available, it doesn't tell well on your business. It will not make you to remain in that top and continue to be excellent. So manufacturing is very, very important, because that is where the making of the product comes, and the quality is also very important when we talk about manufacturing. Okay, then sourcing, very important too. What do we mean by sourcing? For any product, be it you want the parts, to make a product, you have to think about how you are going to go about it. Where do you get it from? You sit down and think of, how am I going to select? Okay, in the world, there is a global village. We have 1,001 people that can supply this particular thing, that can get it for us. But we have to sit down and look at, okay, within this place, these are the factors. Okay, out of these factors, we select 10. Okay, there are 10 people that can provide these drugs for us. But I think this one is more reliable. I think this one will be cost effective. If we are going to get that a cheaper cost. Now, proximity. So many things come into play. So before a product is sourced, you source it out. You have to think about, who are the people that are going to do the supplying work? How are you going to get these goods that are essential for your business operation? So all these things are very important. It involves evaluating suppliers based on factors like I talked about, costs. How much is this one? So Peter has brought this thing. He said he's going to sell it for us 100,000. John has brought it. He said he's going to sell it for us 90,000. But are we sure that Peter can deliver? Okay, why? What about Paul? Is the cost okay for us to take? How have we done our reviews? Can he be trusted? Is he the type that will give him the money and then he will start telling us stories of how Mongo Park discovered River Niger or something happened? How reliable is this supplier? So many things come into play so that you don't get the reliability, the quality. Okay. He has been supplying things over the years. What is the two? So A, B, and C company. Can we know how are the qualities of the things he has been supplying? Is it top quality? Is it up to our standard? You know, all these things are things that we need to take into consideration when you are sourcing for a product, when you want to source for how you can acquire your goods and how you can get your services, your business operations. Sourcing for any company or any outsider is very, very important. You have to know how to go about it and look at so many factors. Effective sourcing contributes to cost efficiency, like I talked about. Quality assurance, we are sure that, yes, so far it is that Peter and Co company, we are sure of the best, and we are sure that it will be delivered on time for us to meet up with our customers' expectations. Very, very important. Okay, we'll try to move a little bit faster because we will not want to take too much of time. Then delivery too, like delivery is also another factor. Transportation and distribution of these products from the manufacturer to the end user. How is it going to be delivered? If you stay online now and order for something, you find out that it will be delivered to you. Most of the goods are delivered to you. And people that do delivery stand a better chance because they'll deliver it to you at your doorstep. It saves you the time and the stress of going to the park, going to the company, trying to look for here and there. It makes things easier. Good. And also it includes planning and logistics. Like someone did ask the difference between supply chain and logistics. I said, when we get to that, Now, supply chain simply focuses on how to create the product. How do you come about the product, manufacturing it, doing all those things? How do you make it, create the product and deliver it to the customer? While logistics focuses solely on how to deliver the product. Are you going to send it by air? Are you going to drive a truck to the house and go and give it to the person? How are you going to deliver the product? So there are two different things. Logistics does not talk about how a product is made. It doesn't go that route. It talks about purely delivery, the logistics, how to take it to the person, how it reaches the person on time and in good state. All those fall under logistics. So that is practically the difference between the two. Okay, so delivery is practically how you transport and distribute these products from the manufacturer to the end consumer. Then returns too. Most times we talk about returns. People that do businesses, you know that before you know, somebody can buy something, and before you know, they want to return the product to the to where they bought it due to some factors. Maybe it is what I ordered for versus what I get. You know, most times online, you order for something and you're getting the opposite of what you ordered for. This is very important. So returns has got to do with how you handle it, how you handle it respectfully. You don't shout, this thing, we cannot take it, or this, no. Customer service is very important. So you must have made that in designing, in configuring your supply chain. You should know that when things come in, you should know how to handle it. Okay, this is what we'll do. Either we'll have to repair it, or we'll return it back to the warehouse, or we refurbish it, or we recycle, or we do something to it and make it seamless for the customer, still maintaining that friendly atmosphere. These are things that we need to really look at under returns. Like you can see there. Now we are looking at global supply chain. We have to try to move faster. Global supply chain, like you can see, look at everything that comprises of what we are talking about. Now, because of how the world is, operations of business has moved globally. Like I said, the world is now a global village. So for you to stand relevant, you have to look at all these aspects: operation management, supply chain management, coordination, like we've talked about, customer orientation, competition, take note of that, logistics, how do I move this thing? What is the movement going to look like from the demander, which is the consumer, through down? How are we going to move it? Move the finished product to the consumer. That is logistics. So these are some of the things that we have to look at. So now, what is global supply chain? It simply talks about networks that can span across multiple continents, countries, you know, for the purpose of sourcing and supplying goods. Sometimes you agree with me that most of the things that are manufactured even in Nigeria, we don't get the raw materials from Nigeria. You can get it from China, you can get it from Italy, you can get it, even Nigeria that produces cars now, that we now have the vehicles that are produced in Nigeria. You find out that some of the materials, they source for the materials outside the country. The suppliers supply it to them from outside the country, multiple continents, far and wide. So gone are the days that you want to make something and you get everything in the same place and in the same setting. No. Now you get most of these things globally. You order for goods globally and it is delivered to you. That is how the world has metamorphosed into. So what are the complexities? What are those things that's challenges, complexities of global supply chain management? Now, if you are dealing within your immediate environment, you don't face so much challenges. But when you make it global, you have so many things to face. Custom and regulatory compliances. The way we do our things in Nigeria, you know, is different from the way some of us on this platform that are outside the country, or maybe in Ghana, we operate. So different countries have their regulations. They have their customs, their custom policies. They have many things. So if you are dealing globally, then you have to know how to handle these challenges. Transportation challenges also. There are times you can order for things and they don't get to you on time because of the distance. There are one or two challenges. You know, maybe there is, for instance, maybe if something is even higher than you are transported by air, then you have issues with the weather. They say, that flight is not taking off. You find out that your goods will not be delivered that day. These are some of the challenges that we would have, that we have to overcome or surmount when you are talking about global supply chain. Currency and payment issues. Countries use euro, some use pounds, dollars. Nigeria, we use naira. and so on. So if you are dealing with if you are into global supply chain, so this is one of the factors that will affect you, because money, you may want to buy something, you may need to change money to dollars if you are going out the country to some parts of the world. You may have to use euro in some parts of the world. If you are dealing with, if it's China, you know exactly what. If you are dealing with Ghana, you know you have to look at CDs and so on and so forth. Cultural and language differences too can affect you. We don't speak the same language. Now, this one makes me remember something. There was a time I wanted to go into e-commerce business, like I wanted to order things from China. I was told to access a particular website. On reaching the website, to my surprise, everything was in Chinese. It was in Chinese language. Like your buying was in Chung Chung Chang Chang. I was like, how am I then going to buy these things when I don't even understand this language? So sometimes cultural and language differences, barriers can stand as an impediment. Inventory management also. How you take inventory of your stock, what comes in, what goes out, because you are dealing with so many global, you are dealing with so many branches, so many suppliers, so many people. So it's not easy to marry everything together and have a smooth ride. Technology integration as well. Political and geographical risk. Two, if you are getting supplies from a country that is having issues, turbulence, there's war, there's this, so many things. You know that everything will not run smoothly. You will definitely have bumps and have bottlenecks. How you can also manage your suppliers. If you have so many suppliers globally, the one that will give you this for you to manufacture what you want, the one that will give you the tires, the one that will give you the different materials that you need to have to coordinate them, manage them effectively to arrive to be able to succeed, to serve your end user, serve your consumer at the end of the day. Sustainability considerations to how can you sustain it. In the midst of all these things, you have to consider how to be able to sustain your relationship with your suppliers, how to marry everything and make everything work, how sustainable it is. Is it for you to remain functional in the stream of things? Okay, now we want to look at the benefits of global supply chain. Benefits of global supply chain, very, very important. Now, someone may ask this question, why do we decide to go globally? What is the benefit of this? Now, if you cannot go global, then people will leave you and they will move. That is how it is now, because everything is now on the internet, everything is now around the world. So one of the benefits is customer satisfaction. Now, to win your customer loyalty, then you have to deliver on time. You have to deliver the right quality. So if you are dealing globally, you are dealing with so many suppliers, you are dealing with so many things, then you cannot just get that thing in the confines that's within your local environment. You have to diversify. You have to go globally so that you get the best products for your customers, so that you continue to become relevant, so that you can expand your business, so that you can satisfy your customers and meet their expectations and even more. Again, another benefit is broader perspective. You widen your horizon. You don't just stay within the local, you move. You find out products that are more effective. You find out the ones that are better, the ones that have a longer lifespan, that have durability. That's why you diversify and have a broader perspective. You learn new processes. You are willing to learn new processes, meet new people, meet new suppliers. That is the reason you have to go global. That's the benefit of global supply chain, moving with different continents, finding out where you can get the best products for a particular thing, where you can serve your customers better, where you can have topmost and the best qualities for some of the products that we have. Then 24/7 availability. Of course, you know, anything global online, even in the midnight, our time zones are different. When it is our morning, can be different in UK. When it is our afternoon, can be their night. Our time zones are totally different. So with that, it means throughout, around the clock, you can get your materials. 24/7 availability, no darling. Every time everybody is working, you get what you want in the soonest possible time. Now, sourcing opportunities also offers opportunities to choose best quality of product offered. You can choose the best quality of the product that are offered because there are so many sourcing opportunities. So you now follow scale of preference, opportunity cost. You pick the best out of the best because your aim is to make your customers happy. New markets too, you may wish to move to diversify, we offer companies new ways to move their businesses to new locations. You can go decide, oh, I've been in this country, okay, let me move to this part of the world, let me move explore. I can see that I'll make better sales in this part of the world. Let me diversify my businesses. So it gives us opportunity for new markets. Now let's look at emerging technologies. With everything that has advantage, there are disadvantages. Now, with this, our global system of things, there are advantages. Technology, emerging technologies. And when you are dealing with a large range of, you have so many companies, you have a large organization, you know what that means. So you know that it's not something that you can manually do, that you need technology to be able to do your work better. Even as a pharmacist, you need technology. You have to liaise with globally, know what is happening in global trends, update yourself, find out the drugs that are, the drugs that are not. Sometimes I stay and I hear they'll say, this drug is not good because it does this. You have to keep yourself abreast so that people don't leave you. You have to be relevant in the system of things. So now, how can we do this thing? We have something we call Internet of Things. That's one of the emerging technologies that can help you when you are going globally, when you are talking about global supply chain. It's simply a collection of interconnected physical devices. You can sit even in your house, sit even in your toilet to monitor. You can monitor where your products, you can order for goods, you know where at each point where the products are, you know what the supplier wants, you check the quality, you report on the progress so far, you can send data to them, letting them know, they can exchange data to you. Everything, communication, Internet of Things is a body that can help you achieve all these things. And then, most importantly, we have artificial intelligence. Now, we all know AI. AI is something that I crave your indulgence on this platform. Since you are pharmacists, is a training that you really need to know. You really need to have. AI has come to stay, and it has helped many things to be done easily, things that normally and originally were done by humans. Now, AI now speeds it up and makes it better and quicker. So if you are a pharmacist or you are in any other profession and you don't have the knowledge of AI, artificial intelligence, then those that have that knowledge will always have an edge over you because they'll go about their things easier and they'll be able to do their work easier than you that is still following the traditional method. So AI is something I advise everybody to take that training. I think MJB Management and the Institute, they run that training. So it is very, very important. With AI, you can do anything so that you are not deprived of your job, because if you don't have the knowledge of AI and you are there taking 5 days to do what another person with the knowledge of AI can take 1 day to do it, of course, become irrelevant in the organization. So it is important. So likewise, when you are dealing with blockchain, I beg your pardon, when you are dealing with global supply chain, then you really need and you really have to be to have the knowledge of AI, because it allows us to take all the data we are capturing. AI tells you, it can help you forecast what will happen. It can help you, give you information far back, yes, what has happened. It monitors your data, analyzes it, and help you to know what might happen in the future. Very easy. AI is a tool that even as pharmacists, please, you have to, like I said before, I cannot overemphasize the importance of AI. So it helps in global supply chain. It helps you to make everything run smoothly, because something you would have been struggling for, getting data, getting the book, getting this, before you know, AI has filtered it for you, categorize everything, predict what will happen, and analyze what will happen in the future. We also have blockchain too. Blockchain does not only work with cryptocurrency, because some people, when they hear blockchain, they just think it's cryptocurrency. No, it simply helps to track. It's a software that helps you to track each step in the process. It's just like the artificial intelligence. It provides you a unique stamp and understanding of where the breakdowns have been. So it helps you to keep track, where you have fallen, because everything is not cast on concrete and we are bound to make. So if you have proper monitoring, you can say, oh, this time I made mistake. I have learned from my mistake. I will not make this mistake again. So it gives you a kind of breakdown as to know where you have reached, where you are going, where you started, and where you are going until you reach the end customer. That is the importance of this thing. So it's important that we keep ourselves abreast with these emerging technologies because it makes our work easier. It makes us to move faster. And now we don't have the time, because if you refuse to move faster, people that are your competitors will help you to move faster, or they'll move faster than you. So, all right. So I'm going to take questions when I am done, please. Pardon me. I like to stop and ask questions, but our time is not very friendly. And we are professionals, so we have to work with time. It's just that I like talking a lot. Since I'm a born teacher, I like talking. So pardon me for that. So now, supply chain design and planning is also another very important. Remember, we said we're going to look at 3 things today: introduction to supply chain management, and we are also going to look at global supply chain and look at supply chain management. So this is the last part of it. Now, what is supply chain design and planning? From the word design, planning, you already know. It has to do with the architecture of the supply chain network. How is the network? How is the value flow? How is it coming in? How is it going out? It involves looking at the supply chain as a whole. Remember, I kept telling you that look at the supply chain as a holistic thing. Don't segregate it and look at it one. No, look at it as something that all the ones work together to make it whole. All the half will now put together to make it a whole number. That is how supply chain is. So in you being able to have a good coordination of your supply chain management, then you have to be mindful of your supply chain design and planning. Like in pharmaceuticals, like in the hospitals, like in pharmacies, as you are pharmacists, you know your own line of supply chain, you know how it works. Perhaps maybe from the manufacturer that will make the raw material they use to make the drugs, then the raw materials will be used to manufacture these drugs, and the drugs will now be sent to maybe healthcare facilities. I am not a pharmacist, so you better place to know how it goes, you know, but that is how it works. That I feel it works before it will now land in the hospitals for it to be disseminated to patients, or you now buy from the wholesalers. Those of you that run independent pharmacies, have your own independent pharmacies, you will now purchase the drugs wholesale and maybe sell. And people that have small chemists, small pharmacies can now come to get it from you as a wholesaler. So it's still the same chain, thereby helping to minimize the total supply chain costs. All right. Good. So now, like we talked about, there are aspects of supply chain planning, design, and planning. Now, supply chain configuration, like we already talked about, simply represents how these members of the chain are connected with each other to develop the product or service. If you observe throughout this training, so far I started, we have been using some words interchangeably. Some words keep coming. You have heard it before, it's coming back again. If you hear so now this represents how participating company members of the chain are connected to deliver the product or service to the end user. Just as we saw on that diagram, we saw the connection of that diagram that we had on one of the slides, where we had the handshake at the end of the day. How is it connected? How from the warehouse you move it to the wholesaler stores it in the warehouse, the retailers gets it from the wholesaler, then the consumer gets from a retailer, like that. It deals with how many suppliers it uses, how many suppliers are grouped or categorized or tiered. How do you categorize supplier for this, supplier for that, and so on and so forth? Where are they located? Are we going global? Are we getting local suppliers? How are we distributing? How are the suppliers distributing these products to us, and so on and so forth? All this is under this supply chain configuration. It's a major aspect of supply chain design. When you are designing your supply chain, think of these things. Okay. Now, on this slide, you can see there, you see the stable network and you see the dynamic network. Now, these two networks have got to do with, let's look at the next slide. You understand what I'm saying? Good. They have got to do with what we call vertical integration. Very important. They have got to do with vertical integration. So let me look at this vertical integration. Then I'll explain to you the stable network and the dynamic network, making reference to this vertical integration. Now, what do we mean by this vertical integration? I want to give you an illustration of a company like Ford. It's a motor corporation, Ford Motors. Most of us know it. And this Ford Motors decided in the 30s, they came up with a strategy in the 30s, which was good as at that time, to have a large extent of vertical integration. They decided to produce most of the things they used to make these Ford Motors by themselves. They did not want to outsource it. They didn't want an person to do it. So they now thought about themselves. Okay, for us to get the motors, we need the windscreen. We need the components. So instead of us outsourcing, why don't we buy over or get a particular sector that is still us, that will be in charge of producing the windscreen? Okay, we'll also form a company that will work on the rubber, you know. We get that company that work on the rubber to make the tires that will produce the car. Do you know that Ford decided to put all these things together? They wanted to have a large extent of vertical integration. They wanted to do everything by themselves. They wanted to be the one. They will have Ford company that produces windscreen for Ford Motors, Ford company that processes rubber for Ford Motors, Ford company that will produce seats for Ford Motors. They didn't want to outsource. They didn't want to give any of the duties to any company. They wanted to have it by themselves. So that way, because they had the tires company, they had the one for the windscreen, for the glass, they had all the companies. So diversifying made them to have a wider and a broader vertical integration. I don't know if we understand. Now, they did the beginning and the end of the things to themselves, by themselves, under their own Ford, under their own company. So they did not want to outsource. So that way they had a broader vertical integration. Now, what is vertical integration? Is simply defined as the single ownership of consecutive activities along the supply chain. You understand? I wanted to use that Ford so that you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now, how a company or an organization or a corporation would have most of the activities done by themselves, by their own company. They don't want to get outsiders to come into it. That was what happened to Ford until now in the world of today, that they couldn't hold sway. They couldn't stand for too long because other competition has made them to know that, okay, if they are not fast, if they don't hire, outsource their things and ensure that quality and every other thing comes into play, then they are losing it in the market. That's when they now started to change. But that was in the 30s, that was what they were doing. So you can say that that's an example of a company that has a broad vertical integration. Very, very broad. Okay, now, like we can see there, if an OEM, that's original equipment manufacturer, that's the meaning of OEM, does not have ownership of its suppliers and customers. It does not have. It is regarded as having a narrow span of vertical integration. Remember, I said Ford they have a broader vertical integration because they did most of the things by themselves. They didn't want to outsource. So they bought over. In fact, they can even buy over any company that they know. If it's something they can buy, so that they'll call it a Ford company of doing that thing, so that they will not have to outsource. They will still be the ones in charge of doing those things. And if a company does not do like that, if it outsources most of the services, most of the things they need, they outsource, they get suppliers, they don't do it themselves, then you term it to be narrow. That's their vertical integration is very narrow. And if it owns a number of tiers of suppliers and customers, it is regarded as having a large extent of vertical integration. Okay, let's look at the next diagram of vertical integration. Before I talk about this, remember I said I would not forget that I said I was going to say the difference between a stable network. Now, in a stable network, it has more control over its suppliers and distributors' operations. Now, that's the difference. In a stable network, remember we are talking about design now. In a stable network of vertical integration, the company has more control over its suppliers and distributors. It's stable. It controls the person that distributes the tire. It controls the person that brings the foil. It controls everything. They are sole controller of these things. That's why it is stable. But in a dynamic one, because of how the world is, dynamism means changing, being prone to change. In a dynamic network, it is flexible. They don't do it all by themselves. They will think, we have to look for a contractor that will supply this. If you look at that diagram, you will see a contractor that has to give us this. Okay, the contractor has brought these things. We have to look for a designer that will help us to design it, to give us a perfect design that will come out. And then we have to look for a distributor that will help to distribute it. So in a dynamic, they keep changing. As the situation arises, they keep changing. If they have more orders, they source for more distributors. If they have more suppliers, they know how to go about the suppliers. So dynamic network keeps moving, keep moving. But stable network is more compared to like the Ford that we talked about, having most of the channels by themselves, having most of the activities done by themselves, by Ford Corporation themselves. So that's the difference between, it's just something being stable and something changing. That's the difference between these two. Okay, thank God we are almost wrapping it up because our time is moving. Okay, now, look at the diagram like we have there. Look at vertical integration. You can see what is happening there. The raw material, the manufacturer, the distribution, the retail, and the after-sales service, all these things in line. If a vertical integration is considered to be large extent, then that means that they have many things done by themselves. But if it is a narrow one, it means that they give it out. So this is practically, they give out, the manufacturer is a different, the distributor is a different, the retailer is a different, just like that, before you get to the bottom line. I don't know, I have talked a whole lot, and at this point, we have just some few slides to go. At this point, I want to find out if we are still together, because it's rather quiet. Yes, are we together, please?
We are together, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I know they asked you to mute your mic. That's why I'm not hearing any sound. So we are trying to beat time, because I know you okay, you have to do something for yourself, so I won't take much of your time. That's why okay, now slide on. I have talked about outsourcing. Now, I will not say this one. Let me also allow you to talk. Someone should tell us, what is outsourcing? Like, I know I have said it before we actually got to it. I've talked about outsourcing a lot in the process of it. So what is practically, just in a sentence? So what is outsourcing? Can someone help us build the cart? Someone?
Like getting,
okay,
from Anita.
Anita, oh wow, Anita, that lovely voice again. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Like getting products and services from other external organizations other than yours.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. So that means we are together. Outsourcing is simply getting, like I said, getting. And now in the world, outsourcing is the in thing. Outsourcing is vertical integration. Large extent vertical integration is actually giving birth. Is actually fizzling out, giving birth to outsourcing, because you find out that when you do a whole lot of things by yourself, it's a problem. You don't get it right most times. In most cases, you don't get it right. So, but when you outsource, you find out that the person will also use his or her own, the person will also focus time to give you, to deliver, to ensure that he or she has his or her business to protect. So also guard against that, and there will be less things for you to do while you monitor the key things. So outsourcing is simply the decision you make to ask another person to help you deliver something that will be helpful in your supply chain. But there's something we need to also know, that outsourcing is just not anything. For example, a manufacturing company that manufactures furniture. Now, let me use that furniture because I like to. Now, can outsource getting the raw materials, can outsource, okay, get me the raw materials. A manufacturing company can say, okay, so company, go to the forest, particular wood for me. I want to use it to make this. But that can be termed as outsourcing. But in the manufacturing company, a person that they look for to bring food to serve to the people that are working, like in the manufacturing company, they are eating, for instance. Now, maybe they have a supplier that brings food to give manufacturers that are working so that they will continue to have the energy and the strength, the vitality to continue doing the work in the best way possible. Now, the company is called, the person that brings the food to them in the location of manufacturing. Can we term that one as outsourcing in supply chain? I need to get your response. I said, let me ask the question again. What I meant, or what I'm trying to say is, in a manufacturing company, they can ask for a product, a raw material. They can tell a company, another company, to supply a particular raw material to them to do what they want to do, to help them in the manufacturing process. And the same company can ask somebody to provide food to the workers that are working in the manufacturing site. Now, what I want to ask you is, the food that they are bringing in, the person that is bringing the food from outside, can we still term that as outsourcing in a supply chain?
No.
Please, I need to hear. Can we term that as outsourcing, please?
No, you can't.
No. So
Because
you
it's not
see
a
that
raw material.
thank you so much. You see that outsourcing is not just about you telling someone to come and give, no, but it has to be you asking somebody to supply you something that is relevant to the nature of your supply chain and the nature of your business. In that case, it's a manufacturing site and it's a manufacturing business. So whoever brings food, whether you bring the food from London or you bring the food from America, is not termed as outsourcing, because it has not got to do, it doesn't add direct value to what is going on. It's not adding direct value to the end consumer. That's what I want us to understand. There's a difference. So outsourcing is simply strategic when it comes to you doing manufacturing or doing any business. It has to be something related to you serving your customers, looking at the total picture and the end results, not just anything. It's also a process that involves identifying potential suppliers. It's not only you asking, you have to identify, who are my suppliers? Are they good enough? Are they the type that you pay them money now, they'll disappear? Are they the type that will make me to have problem with my customer? They will not deliver on time. You have to look at this thing. What is the contract is also involved. What is the contract you're going to with them? How do you negotiate? How are they bringing in these things? So many things to look into. Not just you saying, go and get me this thing, and the person goes and gets it for you. Thank you. You remember I said I was going to go very low. I'm just going to take it to the lowest. We also have offshoring. Now, offshoring is simply moving the operations you have from the onshore location to the offshore location. Simply moving the onshore operations to offshore, maybe to another country. You want to shift base, you want to move. Maybe so that you will be advantageous. You move closer to where you can have less costs. You know, you can also create a market presence where they need you the most or they need you more. You can just land there. So there's a difference between outsourcing and offshoring. Outsourcing is you getting a particular company to help provide something that you're using to give your customers, maybe using to manufacture something to make it better for your customers. While offshoring is simply meaning that you are moving your location of your business to another place, maybe in another country or in another state, so that you can reduce operating costs and maybe you create a market presence closest to the people that need you the most. That is the difference between the two. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused. Location decision is also important in supply chain design. Where are you located? Are you close to those people that need you the most? What is the geographical position? How easy will it be for you to distribute, to the logistics aspect, for you to disseminate this, give these products to the needed place, people that need it? Not all locations are suitable for the supply chain operations. Note that. So one thing is assured that when you are changing a location, many things will come into play. Related factors will change. Many powerful things will come into play. So that is why location decision is very important in any business. Very, very, very important in any business. Then the last but not the least, before we wrap it up, is something we call the bullwhip effect. And this bullwhip effect, I am not going to talk because talking is our time. That we will talk and we'll talk and we'll talk. So let's see. This one, we are just going to look at it. I like to make my trainings to encompass certain things. I don't like it type, me talking. Sometimes I add videos. I try to see how to make people that have different learning ways. People learn in different ways. There are people that learn through watching video. There are people that learn through listening to you. People learn through you typing it. Different ways of listening, of learning. So we are going to look at the last but not the least, which is the bullwhip effect. Bullwhip effect. So many of us should know what we call koboko. Should know that thing that they used to use to flog people. Koboko. The northern people really understand what koboko is. When you hold it, any little thing, shaking, you shake from the tip, the whole body goes flexible. It goes all up to the top. So I won't talk much on that because that's going to be about our last slide. Let's watch this video. It's just 2 minutes and we'll wrap it up. Let's watch this video, but I'm going to find out if we are together. I need to know. So when I start, I'll find out.
The bullwhip effect is a phenomenon that occurs in supply chains when small fluctuations in demand.
Okay. Please, are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I try to just play it so that I'll know if everybody is watching. I'm going to take it back. Please just sit tight. Enough of our talking. Relax. This video is less than 2 minutes, so we'll be done with it. Just listen because it's going to explain the bullwhip effect very well. And I'll say 1 or 2 and then we are done for today. So just sit tight and let's get there. Okay, let's go.
Is a phenomenon that occurs in supply chains when small fluctuations in demand are amplified as they move up the chain toward the suppliers. This results in larger and larger swings in production and inventory levels, leading to inefficiencies and waste in the supply chain. The bullwhip effect is a classic example of how the lack of communication and coordination in a supply chain can lead to negative consequences. The root cause of the bullwhip effect is the failure to accurately forecast demand and the inability of suppliers to respond to changes in demand in a timely manner. Let's take the example of a retail company selling toys. The company may receive a small increase in demand for a particular toy, which leads to an increase in orders to its suppliers. The suppliers in turn increase their production levels to meet the increased demand, but because of the time lag between the increase in demand and the increase in production, the suppliers may overshoot the actual demand, leading to a surplus of toys. This creates a vicious cycle that results in higher costs and inefficiencies, as well as decreased customer satisfaction. So what can be done to prevent the bullwhip effect? The key is to improve communication and coordination in the supply chain. This can be done through the use of advanced forecasting and planning tools, such as demand-driven supply chain management. In conclusion, the bullwhip effect is a classic example of how the lack of communication and coordination in a supply chain can lead to negative consequences. By improving communication and coordination, companies can reduce the impact of the bullwhip effect and improve the overall efficiency and performance of their supply chain. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content.
All right, thank you so very much. Thank you so much. I don't know if that video really made sense to you. Hello, everybody.
Hi,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now what is, I'm just going to talk, I don't want to talk too much. That's why I had to put that video so that you relax after sitting down for long. Now, but I'm going to just explain what a bullwhip effect is. Like I talked about the koboko, I said the northern people know what koboko is. That cane is very flexible, very, very flexible. Now, in supply chain business like we have, now this is the bullwhip effect. Let's look at this slide. It starts from the customer. The customer tells the retailer, okay, I need 5 bottles of water. For instance, maybe someone selling bottled water. I need 5 bottles of water. And then the retailer now says, okay, the retailer now goes to the distributor and tells the distributor, please, I need 10 bottles of water. Why? Because the retailer is envisaging, okay, this person needs five bottles of water. Maybe another person may need another 5. So let me just, to be on the safe side, let me just tell him to give me 10 so that I will not run out. Now, the retailer now goes to the distributor and says, give me 10. I need 10. Please give me 10 bottles of this water. The distributor will now say, this person is asking for 10. This person normally used to ask for 5. And now is asking for 10. Okay, it's better so that I will not come and catch me unawares. It's better. Let me order for 15. Now the distributor will now tell the manufacturer, okay, please, can I have 15 bottles? Or can you manufacture 15 bottles of bottled water so that I can give to the distributor? You know, so that's how it goes. The manufacturer will tell the supplier, and the supplier will say, I don't have to do 15. Let me do 30, 20 or 25. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is this bullwhip effect is simply an effect that results from a little fluctuation from the customer's demand. It starts from the customer. If a customer normally used to buy 5 things and walks into your shop and says, I want 10 things, originally your mind as a retailer will be, 10 things, it's like I need to, what if another person come and say wants another 10 things, let me get it in excess. So the retailer now will now talk to the distributor and get a higher. We'll never say, give me only 5. No, we'll say, give me 10, so that you have backup in case he has more people coming, since there is an increase, a fluctuation in the normal demand level that used to be. So now the distributor will now say, so now increase the amount, the number to the manufacturer. And manufacturer, at the end of the day, the highest effect will be in the supplier, because you find out that the supplier will not supply things for that number that was originally given by the customer. So that's just what bullwhip effect means. It simply means that any little change from the customer and fluctuation of price of demand leads to a very increase at the topmost part of the supply chain, which is just as you have seen the pictorial representation. So that is just it. This today, like I said, is an introductory class, and we envisage that we are going to have more very interesting things to learn, and we are going to have a smooth ride. Today is the first day. Before I hand over to MJB, Management and Integrated Services, I would like to crave your indulgence that please ensure that you follow up this training the 3 days, and help kindly go to the platform if you found value, if you have at least learned something, if not many things from today's training. Please, I'll appreciate it if you drop your feedbacks on the platform, because these feedbacks would help me, will really help me to know if I've really impacted, will help me to know if I've been able to play a part in training very knowledgeable healthcare practitioners, and it will help me be convinced that yes, if this number we have here will do all the things, will do perfect, but will put into practice what they have learned in their duties as pharmacists, it will help us have a better world and a better Nigeria, and perhaps a better world. So please ensure to put your feedback, drop your feedbacks. I'll look out to get them on the platform of the registered participants. If you enjoyed the class, if you expected more than what I've given, if you hope to learn more, just drop a word. It is those things that help me to do better when I see them. It gives me the energy that I need to do better next week. Thank you so very much. I don't know if there's any question. Let me quickly look at the chat box. Thank you, ma'am, for the lecture. I learned a lot from the first module. Very educative class, wonderful. If I want to read these comments, I would not want to end this session, but I will appreciate it if I see it on the platform. Thank you so very much. At this point, I don't know if there's any question before I hand over, because I have passed 1 o'clock. Yes, please. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Harris.
Okay, Harris. Thank you, sir.
So does it mean that a company with larger vertical integration will be less successful in their business, or it's not like in every scenario?
Okay, sir. Now, to answer that,
so, with a narrow vertical integration.
Okay, thank you so much. Your question is good. Like I said in the beginning of the training, I said that supply chain management or supply chain is not something cast on concrete. What I mean by cast on concrete is not something that is just there, it cannot change. It's not easy to change, no. Depending on the organization that you are, depending on the factors that are involved, you can decide to take any one of them. Now, when you have a large vertical integration, the case whereby you do most of the things, a company does most of the things by themselves, is not bad, but the only disadvantage is that when you have to do everything by yourself, in most times and most cases, that's why I say you pick the one that suits you, that suits your organization, any of them that suits you. Most times it doesn't work as perfect as you outsourcing, because when you outsource, it calls for specialization. The people that are specialists in doing that thing, that have done it for long, that know how to do it, will do it for you. And then quality, because their names is also at stake. They want to build that relationship. They'll try to do it better. Not that you cannot do it. But the fact is, when you outsource it, it gives you room to fall back on the major things that you need to do. And it helps you to be rest assured that doing it properly, getting the right people, delivery will be sure. You'll be able to satisfy your customer. So whichever one of them is good, is nice, but it depends on the scenario. It depends on the work you do. And then again, above all, it depends on how large your business is, how large your organization is. The smaller it is, the better for you in terms of having a larger vertical integration. Because if it's a small business where you just do a little thing, fine, you can handle it. But when you are going global, when you're a big company, the possibility of you doing everything and doing it perfectly well is very slim. So I don't know if that has answered your question, sir.
Yes, that has answered my question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. So is there any other question before I hand over? Because we've come to the end of the training. Any other question? Briefly, just one, and then. Okay, if there's no question for now, maybe people may not have questions, but what I like people do is that you have any question in the course of you going through the materials or going through the slides, please, on our next class, those first few seconds that we use for formalities, you can just drop it and I'll answer your questions very well, because some of you may need to go back to look at the slides and come up with questions to ask me. I'm very available for any question, and I'm also available to learn from you. Thank you so very much. Thank you for having you. Over to MJD Management and Integrated Services. Thank you so much. It was nice having you. Then if I did well, like I said, let me know. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Dorothy Kingsley, good PhD.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was one of your great, also one of your great performance. I leave it to the participants. Thank God they are dropping their feedback so we can see if actually they want you back or they don't want you. But so far I've seen that they want you back. So
thank you. Thank you.
To our esteemed participants, we appreciate you so much, because without you, there will be no us. We want to thank you for the maturity. We want to thank you for the maturity that you displayed today. Hope to see you. We'll meet again next Saturday. Until then, have a lovely Saturday and a blessed week ahead. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
One minute.